President Trump following the latest apparent assassination attempt. Senator Lee addressed the topic at a press conference yesterday.
It's time to really increase his security detail, if necessary, to the same level or a comparable level to that enjoyed typically by the President of the United States.
Senator Lee is also saying he thinks it's fine for people to disagree with the former president, but saying he's a threat to democracy could lead some to take their beliefs too far. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Federal officials are investigating suspicious letters sent to state election offices around the country, including battleground states like Arizona and Georgia. Sources tell ABC the letters contained a white powder that has proven harmless.
Well, the National Association of Secretaries of State released a statement urging an end to threatening and intimidating actions toward election officials, saying there's no place for threats of political violence in our democracy. Sadly, a sign of our times.
ABC Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 71 points right now. That's less than 0.2%. We're at 41,534. We've got clouds out there today and a slight chance of rain. Cooler temperatures as well. We'll check KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Just the other day, I was talking with a new acquaintance, and I mentioned I had let go of 70 pounds of fat weight with the help of my friends at Soda Weight Loss. And I showed him a picture of me from this same week last year. He said, "Wow, you don't even look like the same person anymore. You look younger now." One of my relatives, who I hadn't seen in person in a couple of years, said I look taller now. Well, I'm not alone. Clients at Soda, which is spelled S-O-T-A, look and feel 10 years younger when they let go of the fat. I'm living proof of this, but you can see for yourself by going to SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTAweightloss.com. Check out the thousands of before and after pics. While you're there, click on the Request a Nutritionist callback. And within minutes, you'll be talking with someone who truly wants to help you get in the best shape of your life. You want the fastest and most permanent results? It's not with injections, drugs, or pills, and it's not with fad diets, because you almost always gain the weight back once you stop. I got rid of my excess weight in just 5 months, and now 6 months later, I'm still right where I want to be. Get started now and look great for the holidays with SOTAweightloss.com, because Soda is state of the art.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule at 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
What's better than one win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we still have a bit of slowing northbound I-15 from the point of the mountain to about 53rd South and Murray. That's off and on. The biggest issue, though, is a crash in Holiday. This is on Highland Drive, also known as 20th East. It's heading northbound right at the ramps to and from I-215, so it's causing a bit of slowdown in the area and may be diverting traffic for people trying to exit I-215. Other than that, it's a pretty good commute. Live at the Eccles presents Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in concert featuring Casey Elliott and the One Voice Choir. September 26th to the 28th at the Eccles Theater. Tickets at liveeccles.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We'll have clouds today, but hopefully the rain will clear out. The highs will be around 71 degrees. Right now it is mostly cloudy and 54 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, we've been reporting on all of the pagers that exploded. They were being worn on the sides of members of Hezbollah. And now we're getting word that walkie-talkies are blowing up, too. At least 1,000, Dave.
This is too wild for a Hollywood script. Mission Impossible doesn't even accept this script because it sounds too far-fetched. And we have another layer to this, Debbie. There's more happening right now. It's 9:06. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Dave and you and I have been researching this, like what went on yesterday when all those pagers started blowing. They were being worn on the sides of Hezbollah fighters and members of Hezbollah. Nearly 3,000 of them detonated. They blew up simultaneously. I got a text message, and then boom. And they were, we old-fashioned pager wearers. No, we wear them on our, we wore them on our hips. Well, it just took a new twist. Now we got Hezbollah's got walkie-talkies blowing up, too.
Thousands of wireless pagers, which Hezbollah uses to communicate, simultaneously exploding across Lebanon. Operatives reportedly hearing a beeping sound, expecting a message, and instead, the pagers blowing up.
And now it's the walkie-talkies that they're carrying around that are exploding. And Debbie, this isn't happening from Hezbollah fighters that are on the front line. They were out shopping. We saw videos of them out shopping in a market, picking through fruit when they would explode. So what does this mean now that they've escalated it again a second day, but now they're targeting walkie-talkies?
Countdown. 2.
Well, there's been a new poll released by Scott Rasmussen just a couple of days after the second assassination attempt on former President Trump. We're going to share some of those shocking results from that poll that asked, would America be better off if Donald Trump had been killed last weekend? There's some disturbing results here.
Can you believe that question was asked in the first place? What a brutally straightforward question. Would America be better off if Donald Trump had been killed last week? And in these poll results, the tough questions gave some chilling answers. Almost 1 in 5 people said yes, America would be better off if Trump had been killed. And it gets even worse the deeper you dive into those numbers.
Launch countdown. 1.
If you bought a home and you have a mortgage rate that is locked in, it's too high for your tastes, well, this show is for you. In fact, right out of the gates, we're going to talk about what the feds are expected to do today, dropping the interest rate. We're going to ask the question, and Dave is actually going to get out the home refi calculator. Is it time to run the numbers, Dave?
It is definitely time to run the numbers, and we have to remember the Fed raised the rate 11 times in just over a year. They were pumping the brakes on the economy, trying to slow things down, trying to get inflation under control. We went from mortgage rates in the 2s and 3s up to the 7s. And I'll break it down. You may have forgotten what a 3% interest rate looks like and how much money you saved. It is night and day compared to a 6 and 7% interest rate.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
Dave and I on interest rate watch. The Fed's expecting to drop the rate later today. We'll have the latest when it happens. Of course, as you said, Dave, all we saw was like this rocket, these soaring interest rates for how many times in a row? Like 11 times?
It was 11 straight raises.
Yeah. So we were just so like caught off guard when this started to happen. Then our credit cards interest rates started going up, and then home mortgage rates started going up. So we're not used to this idea that the Fed could drop the rate.
We'd forgotten because when we were going through the financial struggles during COVID, they were cutting rates, trying to get the economy stimulated and keep our heads above water. And we were getting unbelievable mortgage rates, 2.5%, 3%. I had one at 3.5%. They were incredible, but then we got smacked with inflation, record high inflation, 40-year high inflation. And the Fed said, we got to stop this. We got to slow down the economy.
So you had sort of like the egg inflation calculator last year that you monitored the family budget inflation based on the price of eggs. Does it feel like egg inflation has leveled out?
A little bit. It is not back to where it was, not even close to where it was. It used to be 99 cents for a dozen eggs, $1.45.
You call it the cheapest protein on the market.
It is the cheapest protein on the market for sure. And that's why it bothered me so much, because I eat a lot of eggs. And when it was going up to almost $5, $5 for a dozen eggs, sure. So not all of that is inflation related,
like
but let's be honest.
Bird flu and problems with chickens,
right. But it wasn't just eggs, right? It was meat, it was pork, it was gasoline. Inflation has hit us on every level. In some areas, a little harder than others, but we've definitely seen it over and over again. It's why I'm a little bit nervous about this rate cut. I've got two black eyes and bleeding ears from inflation over the last 3 years. And the fact that the Fed says, okay, now that we've been a month of reasonable inflation, let's start cutting rates again. Because I'm afraid if you take your foot off the brake too soon, then are we just going to go back to these terrible inflationary economy again?
So the other day I was out shopping and I was looking at prices. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's $2 higher than it was last year. So in some cases, I feel like inflation is leveling out. Okay, I was ballooning up but my budget was ballooning up during the price increases, and then my belt was so tight. And now I feel like the belt's a little bit looser, but there's still a long way to go. Like the price, there's a new price point.
Yeah, and it will never change.
And that $2 on extra on that item that I saw will never go away. It'll always,
eggs are never going to be 99 cents again, Dave. Get over it.
Stick right there. But one of the things that sort of shakes out when the Fed lowers interest rates is we might see, we've kind of maybe already seen, a drop, and we have seen a drop in mortgage rates. But it always brings up the question to me, when is the right time to refi? If you locked in at a 7%, and now it's down below 6%. You ran some numbers, didn't you?
Yes, I did. In fact, I was looking at, let's go 7%. We'll take a $500,000 home. That's the
locked
that's
in at 7%.
Yeah, $500,000 home, 7%. You're paying $3,300 a month. That's at a 7%. If you look back to when it was at 3%, that same home, $1,200 cheaper. It was $2,100 a month. So to give you that idea of what happened in just the 2 years where these numbers just skyrocketed less than a year. We went from a 3% interest rate to a 7% interest rate, and it's $1,200 more a month on a $500,000 home.
So that's how much inflation has hit the mortgage
It's
payment
what
budget.
it's well, not just inflation, more the rates.
The rate, yeah.
From the Fed
I
constantly
see what you're
raising the rates, that directly affected the mortgage rates that we have. And yeah, when it jumps up 4%, that is over $1,000 more a month that you're paying.
But you're worried that today's announcement, even if the feds lower the rate, it might create runaway inflation?
That's my worry. It is, even though it would help our mortgage rates, I've been far more devastated with my everyday purchases of gas, and it's been in food and clothes and shoes. All of that inflation has hit has affected me more than the home mortgage rates.
So you're worried about that? The Fed's lowering interest rates too fast will plop us into runaway inflation. Let's ask an expert to weigh in. Will this potentially cause runaway inflation? Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Key stories are changing by the day.
The air was unhealthy up and down the state.
It's going to cost a lot more to keep the homeless warm this winter.
Stories that affect family and community.
The whole state has absenteeism rates that are higher than average.
An appeal has already been filed to reinstate Amendment D.
When you're in the car, KSL has updated info on where stories are going and what's changed. Get important breaking news each time you jump in the car.
We have you covered.
On KSL News Radio.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
The best way to keep up to speed on all the latest breaking news is by signing up for the KSL text line at 57500.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it all connected. That is, if it can handle the pressure.
Next in line, please.
So is it possible to get business internet you can really count on? It is. With 99.9% network reliability from Comcast Business. It's like this neat little bow.
Do you like that gift wrap?
Really ties it all together. Reliable internet for your business. It's not just possible, it's happening. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started with reliable internet and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call or go online to switch today. Offer ends 9/22/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabit per second internet. Eagle bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
Whenever I talk about Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, it is so easy to simply focus on the steaks. After all, it's in the name. But Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is also famous for their other dishes as well. Other entrees like seafood and poultry. I love it too. At certain times of the year, they'll have specialty dishes, and they will be prepared to perfection. And then those side dishes that are just legendary. When Dee and I eat at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, this is what we almost always do. We love the asparagus and we love the potatoes au gratin. And don't forget to leave room for those desserts. They are just off the charts. We're so fortunate, and especially this time of year, driving up the canyon to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. We have 2 locations, one in Hotel Park City, and then with all the great events happening in downtown Salt Lake City, they're at 275 Southwest Temple. Your dining experience is waiting at Ruth's Chris.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, sources confirmed to ABC News that Israel was behind the attack targeting members of Hezbollah with exploding pagers. At least 12 people are dead and thousands injured. Second, a Midvale woman is hoping the city adds crosswalks and other safety measures to streets near her home after being hit by a car multiple times in the last 2 years. Third, the West Valley City Council is allowing the area of a popular swap meet and the Redwood Drive-In to be rezoned. The move is getting massive pushback from the community. Vendors say the swap meet is how they pay their bills. Right now, 54 degrees. And back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top national story.
The Fed expected to announce they're going to lower interest rates this afternoon. We're expecting that announcement. And when I heard this news, Dave, I was like, woohoo! And then I come into work.
I'm the Debbie Downer
yes,
today.
I was shocked by your take on this. It's like you don't want the Fed to lower interest rates. I'm like, look, credit card interest rates are high. We need a break. Home mortgage interest rates are high. People who want to get into a home, they need a break. And Dave's over here like, no break. Why?
The single thing that has devastated the Noriega finances more than anything, more than mortgage rates, is inflation. Inflation has been devastating, and I'm not alone. You know, we've seen so many studies and that have shown that just average Utahns are spending $800 to $1,000 more for the exact same stuff because of inflation. Right. So I've been devastated by inflation. So the Fed doing this yo-yo thing of we're going to slash rates, we're going to raise rates, we're going to slash rates, we're going to raise rates. I just can't rely on anything right now, and I'm far more concerned about inflation than I am any other economic issue out there.
Robert Spenlove, senior economist with Zions Bank. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be with you.
And in a reversal of roles this morning, I've got Debbie Downer sitting to my left here. I was thrilled to hear that the Fed is going to loosen up on its inflation, or its interest rate hikes, and maybe go the other way. And Dave's worried that this could potentially spark more inflation. Give us the scoop on that.
Yeah, so this is the exact debate that's going on inside the Fed right now. So the Fed increased interest rates by 5% 2 years ago. And so they were trying to fight that inflation that you were talking about. We've seen that inflation coming down, but it's not back down exactly to where the Fed wants it. They want it back at 2%. But at the same time, it is starting to show strain on borrowers. It's showing strain on consumers. And so they've got to get down from this high level. The question is the question is not whether they're going to cut rates. They will cut rates today. It's just how much they'll cut it and how quickly they'll move back down over the next few months.
So as you say, showing strain, what can I rely on? And I think that's that's a little bit where the whiplash comes from me is I just need something to be steady. I will adapt, but I'm just looking for steady. Do you think raising or cutting rates, does that improve things, or will this affect the steady?
Yeah, so essentially what's happening with the Fed lowering rates is they're shifting from helping savers to helping borrowers. So when interest rates are high, you get a good return on saving your money. But when those interest rates drop, it's the Fed saying, okay, stop saving as much money. Now you should start borrowing money because it's going to be cheaper. And what we've seen, so looking at the savings rate, the amount of percent of people's savings compared to before the pandemic has gone from 6% to under 3%. So what that says is people are already running out of money. If you look at the delinquency rate, it's moving up really quickly. So that's people falling behind on paying their bills. So we're seeing kind of those strains in consumers. But the struggle with the Fed, Alan Greenspan said changes to Fed policy are like turning on a tap of water and the water coming out a year later. So it's going to take a while for us to see this effect.
That's a great comparison.
So will consumers or will our listeners see their credit card interest rates start to drop, Robert?
Yeah, so we've already started to see mortgage rates changing. So the average 30-year mortgage rate is now about 6.2%. A year ago, it was over 7%. So they've already started to adjust. Car loan rates are much higher than they were a couple of years ago. They haven't started coming down yet, but they will. And then credit card rates, the average rate on a credit card is now over 20%. And so we'll see mortgage rates come down, car loans come down, credit cards come down, business lending rates will come down. So it'll make it just easier to finance a lot of the things that we do in our lives.
So when you're talking about the slashing the rate, whether it's 25 basis points, 50, 3/4, what message does it send, or what should we be looking at when we see the number, whatever they settle on?
Yeah, so that's back to that debate. So, the case for a 25 basis point cut is that, the rates are too high and the Fed wants to ease into a rate cutting path. If they cut by 50 basis points, it could send the message that the economy is doing worse than we think. Because the justification for going extra big is that the economy is deteriorating very quickly. And so I do worry that if the Fed goes 50 basis points, that it could send that wrong message. But then beyond what they do with the rates today, the other thing we're going to be really watching is what the Fed says they're going to do. They're going to produce a new forecast. And so the Fed, has been saying that they'd be very careful in dropping those rates. But I think the Fed is going to say, you know what, we're probably going to go a little bit more aggressive, probably cut by 1% over the next year and maybe even 2% over the next year.
Okay. Well, now, thank you for that lesson. We'll be watching for what they decide on, what they land on today. Robert Spenlove, a senior economist with Zions Bank, and as he talked about interest rates dropping. Dave, it took me back just a few minutes ago when you were talking about you ran the mortgage calculator on a refi calculator on a $500,000 home. Did you happen? It's at 6.2% now. What kind of numbers did you land on in terms of how much a refi would lower a house payment for somebody who might have locked in last year at 7%?
Okay, so 7% is going to cost you $3,300 a month.
On $500K?
Yeah. 5%, so dropping it 2 points, is going to be $2,700. So it's a $600 savings per month. So those are big unwieldy numbers, just 7, 5.
That's a chunk though.
But if you're looking at 3%, which is what it was just a few years ago, it's $2,100 a month.
Haven't we all agreed we're not going back to 3%?
Yeah. The problem is, though, a huge amount of Utahns have a 3% mortgage rate.
And they don't move.
And they're not going to move.
I can't blame them.
How do you leave
Except
that?
for you.
I moved. I backed it up.
Everybody has the 3% doesn't move, but Dave. Well, in the 11 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to mortgage expert Jeff Stout about when the right time is. Where's the sweet spot to think about refinancing? Getting out the refi calculator, getting your paperwork together, and heading over to Refi Expert. Like, what is the perfect timing for this? Because I have a feeling people are going to think, I don't want to refi now, because what if in 6 months from now it drops even lower? And there are refi costs involved, and so I think there's just going to be a little skittishness over refiing. So we'll ask Jeff to weigh in on that. Straight ahead. We first thought this was just crazy. These 3,000 pagers exploding all at once when a message is sent to all of them simultaneously. They were being warned by Hezbollah, members and fighters, and then they blew up all at once yesterday. Well, now we've gotten words of booby-trapped walkie-talkies exploding too. So we're going to take you inside this twisted plot that landed exploding pagers and walkie-talkies in the hands of Hezbollah.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. The West Valley City Council has voted to rezone 26 acres of land, which includes the swap meet and Redwood Drive-In. The owner of the land is selling it, and a housing developer is looking to purchase it and build more than 300 housing units. However, hundreds attended the city council meeting last night in opposition, including Christian Carbajal.
This swap meet thing is not over. We will make sure the city council gets voted off, that we do have representation.
He tells KSL TV many people rely on the swap meet for money to pay their bills. However, the city says it's not their job to tell property owners what they can and cannot do with their land. Utah County Sheriff's deputies are searching for a missing man who was last seen near Payson about a week ago. 44-year-old Blaine Parkin was last seen near Payson, but his truck was found near Roosevelt in Uinta County. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact the Sheriff's Department. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Federal Reserve widely expected this afternoon to make its first cut to a key interest rate since the spring of 2020.
The reason the Fed is doing this right now, inflation is now at a 3-year low. It's well below the 9% peak. It is back in what they would consider the normal zone, where the Fed wants to see it at 2.5%. Meantime, unemployment still historically low, 4.2%, but it is starting to tick higher. You may have heard this term, soft landing. That is exactly what the Fed is trying to do here. They want to land this plane nice and easy.
ABC News chief business correspondent Rebecca Jarvis reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 51 points right now. That's 0.1%. We're at 41,549. Coming up, we've got cloudy skies out there today and cooler temperatures. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
What's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. In celebration of over 32 years of serving humans in Utah with their computer and tech needs, we've slashed our prices. And these are the new 2025 models. Here's the deal. You can get our new 2025 S1 desktop with a blazing Ryzen 5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing fast storage on this promotion. We also have our new 2025 SM3 laptop with the Intel i5 processor, 16 gigs, and over a terabyte of storage for $999. You can take one home today for $999. And you also get the peace of mind of our lifetime service warranty. We also have 12 months special financing available, and they start as low as $29 a month. But hurry in, because supplies are limited. Because at PC Laptops, we love you. PCLaptops.com. Take home a blazing fast 2025 model desktop or laptop for $999 at PCLaptops.com.
The KSL News Radio movie show comes to My Hearing Centers this Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Winter is coming, but there's still time to replace those drafty old windows before the cold comes and drives up your heating bill. Just make one call and take advantage of the Advanced Window Products Fall Special. $2,500 off on 10 windows or more, and that's $2,500 off their already low factory direct prices, because at Advanced Window Products, they're the factory. Your windows are built in their facility right here in Salt Lake City. You're buying local, and with their lifetime guarantee, you don't ever have to call some faraway state for help. Advanced Window Products is right here, proudly backing up their work. So make one call, save on your heating bill, and get a rebate from the energy companies. Advanced Window Products offers 0% financing. They can even give you amazing new windows with no money down. And don't forget, $2,500 off their factory direct prices, but you have to call now. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We're back to freeway speeds on all the major roadways across the Wasatch Front, including I-15, the east and west side belt routes, I-80 through Parley's Canyon. But we do have a couple of crashes still in play. One of them is in Mill Creek. It's on Wasatch Boulevard at 3800 South. Looks like this one is heading northbound, and it's blocking a right-hand lane, but not a lot of traffic in that area. And the other crash we had in Holiday on 20th East, the last of the emergency vehicles just pulling away now, so that actually just cleared. Get started on your dream kitchen or bath countertops with special financing from Bedrock Quartz for up to 18 months. Visit bedrockquartz.com for details. That's bedrockquartz.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, we'll have cloudy skies, just a 20% chance of rain today, a high of 71 degrees, and right now it's cloudy and 57 downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I could not turn away from the exploding pager plot stories, Dave. Did you heard about this?
This is incredible. This story is out of Hollywood. It's a spy novel. It's Mission Impossible, and they pulled it off.
And spoiler alert, it's not over. It's not over. This morning, as we were heading into studio, one of our producers in the newsroom is like, we've got a new development in this. There's now booby-trapped walkie-talkies exploding. 1,000 walkie-talkies exploding. We're gonna walk you inside this pager plot. Talk about what's going on with the walkie-talkies as well. And also, in a few minutes, bring on a national security expert. What's next? We need to ask that question. Is it over? Doesn't seem to be, given what just happened. We got word of this morning. So we got these pagers are exploding on the sides of Hezbollah fighters, members of Hezbollah, and it's alleged that Israel is behind this plot. And it was an intercepted shipment of pagers. Like, who wears pagers anymore? That was one of the first things that came to my mind after I started reading these. So I was like, oh, they're wearing pagers? Well, there's a reason why.
And if you're trying to piece this all together, Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah is designated as a terrorist group. They work out of Lebanon. They're funded by Iran. There's probably 20,000, somewhere between 20 and 50,000 fighters out there. And there have been recent attacks where they launch rockets into Israel often. In fact, 200 rockets were fired just back in July toward Israel. So there's been this continuing fight as Israel is fighting Hamas. They are also having to deal with Hezbollah.
And so as part of this like unique Mission Impossible style warfare, that's really what this seems like. Israel is alleged to have intercepted a shipment of 3,000 pagers. And now some have said, well, we've reported it's from a Taiwan. These are shipments from a Taiwanese company. That company has said no. It comes from another company. It just has a licensing agreement with us. But what we think from all reports that we're reading here has happened is that the shipment goes out to Hezbollah, and there's a reason why they're switching over to pagers. And Dave, you actually spotted this reason.
Yeah, I saw that perhaps this was part of a campaign to put distrust in cell phones. So they're trying to move this organization away from cell phones, maybe go back in technology to these pagers. So it appears that maybe this was set up long in advance, and they had moved over the fighters from conventional cell phone use to these pagers.
And here's what ABC Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz has been reporting on regarding what happened once those pagers ended up on the sides of Hezbollah fighters.
Thousands of wireless pagers, which Hezbollah uses to communicate, simultaneously exploding across Lebanon. Operatives reportedly hearing a beeping sound, expecting a message, and instead the pagers blowing up. Graphic images circulating online showing fingers blown off, bloodied faces, and damaged eyes.
And about a dozen people reported dead. Hundreds others injured. And what has been reported by the AP and the New York Times and other major news organizations is that what it appears happened is that this intercepted shipment of pagers is they start planting a tiniest amount of explosives within that pager. And I read and heard this morning that maybe the little tiny board inside the pager had to be switched out too. Have you heard anything on that, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how they manufactured it, but it sounds like the pagers were working. Like these would act largely just as a normal pager. They would use them. They were distributed. They were working fine. But that there was this mechanism. If a certain message was sent, a code was sent, they would trigger and explode, ignite all of these pagers.
Yeah, they think it was possibly triggered with a radio signal. And then they all exploded all at once. If you've seen the video, it's just crazy what happened when those pagers all started going off at once. And it was like, so they got tricked somehow, maybe, into switching from cell phones to pagers. And then the pagers get intercepted. I don't know where the lab was, where the test facility was to see how these things would work. And then they end up allegedly planting all these explosives or little bits of explosives inside all of these pagers. And then they ship them off to Hezbollah, and they're none the wiser. They have no idea. They're walking around using these things like communication devices, and they work normally. So Hezbollah, they got tricked.
Absolutely tricked. And when we talk about the Hezbollah fighters, these aren't fighters, at least many videos that I've seen so far, they were not necessarily on the front lines in the battlefield that you're thinking of. The one that I saw that stands out in my mind is this man was shopping. He was sorting through fruit at the store at a market, and then it explodes. You see everybody running, but this was all at once. That's the key, is this message was sent out and they all essentially simatoneously exploded. And
think about where we carried pagers. You had a pager back in the day, didn't you?
Never had a pager.
I did.
I was never a pager guy.
I had every model of pager. I guess because I'm older than you. But we carried pagers. Where do you carry them? On your hip.
Yeah, on your hip.
On your hip. So when it explodes, really, really serious damage. And then, as I said, we got word that walkie-talkies that Hezbollah has are now blowing up. It's a second wave of attacks. This article we just drew on from Axios. So obviously, everybody's trying to gather more details on what's going on because this just happened. Axios is reporting that Israel blew up thousands of two-way personal radios used by Hezbollah. So thousands of two-way radios walkie-talkies were booby-trapped. In it, obviously in advance. It sounds like much like the pager plot. And I don't see any reports right now of deaths or injuries, but what we saw yesterday with the pagers exploding in the video would be surprising if we did have some. Of course, we'll continue to monitor that.
Just the pager, the pager attack killed somewhere between 9 and 12 people, wounded nearly 3,000, and we are just finding out more about the walkie-talkies.
Mm-hmm.
But quite honestly, you would think that any sort of electrical device must imagine that everything is compromised.
Well,
cell phones, pagers, walkie-talkies.
This could shut down Hezbollah.
Truly, like what do you trust? There's nothing that you would trust. It was such an unbelievably elaborate attack and so detailed and on such an unbelievably wide scope. I mean, thousands across the entire country that you'd be second guessing everything.
It's so super secret. I mean, it's so super secret for them to be able to pull this off, and it just keeps going. So we got,
and they're blaming Israel. I think I'm sure we said this. They're blaming Israel. I'm trying to remember if Israel has admitted to
not
this.
That
or
I've
not.
seen. I've seen that. I haven't seen them officially come out and say it, but major news organizations are reporting this and alleging that it was Israel. So we've got exploding pagers, exploding walkie-talkies. What's next? We'll ask a national security expert for his take. Straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Don't you love this time of year? Fabulous fall colors amongst the Red Rock Views and Cedar Breaks and Dixie National Forest. You should take a drive where you will no doubt enjoy 4 scenic highways, connecting you to the most amazing fall colors you'll ever see. Time to put the you back in Utah, because it's all about the journey you create. This fall, see you in Cedar City. Start your journey at this year's Utah Shakespeare Festival, now through the fall, featuring 4 incredible plays. Do you like nature? Take a hike, go mountain biking, or OHVing in Bryan Head. You'll enjoy many fun fall events, like the charm of an organic farmer's market. And be sure you include a visit to the best pumpkin patches in the West. You will definitely get it all this fall in Cedar City, putting the you back in Utah and Cedar City. To plan your journey and for Cedar City's updated fall color report, activities, and cool foodie places to go, visit cedarcity.com. cedarcity.com.
The Fed expected to drop the interest rate this afternoon. Maria Chaleos at noon with the latest on that announcement. And then, of course, Jeff from 3 to 7, driving you home, taking you on your way home with how this will impact your family budget. So Maria at noon for that announcement, and then Jeff at 3.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at KSLNewsRadio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Here's another satisfied customer of 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, Anita Bennett.
When I first heard about 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, I thought, there's no way they could do a good job in 3 days, and they must carry only the plain Jane basics in cabinets, countertops, and flooring. Then they came to our house and we found out they offered top quality materials with tons of choices and lots of custom options. They worked with us to design a bathroom that was perfect for our family. They looked at our needs and thought of details I hadn't even considered. The installation was clean, thorough, and professional, and they were done in just 3 days. When we got back from the hotel, I couldn't believe the difference. The bathroom is beautiful.
See us on the web at 3daykitchen.com.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Exciting news, Master Electrical Services has joined Mountain Home Services.
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Our goal every day on Inside Sources is to help you divide the rage from the reason, elevate the conversation, connect the dots, and make the news make sense in your world. We have conversations with great thinkers, with great leaders, and great people who are just out there making a difference in the world. Now, we do talk about politics, but only so we can discuss society and culture. And then we explore society and culture so we can discuss principles and the people in America and the state of Utah who actually live them and apply them every day. We bring the best and brightest minds to the state of Utah, and we love to take the Utah model and send it out to our nation's capital and beyond. Every day on Inside Sources, you'll be part of that conversation. To help you understand things in a different way, we'll get you to think again about what you think you know, but most important, we're going to help you have confidence to have crucial conversations in your community and in your own home.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, rain has helped slow or put out some of the wildfires in the state. The Elizabeth Fire in Summit County near the Wyoming border is 10% contained. Second, ping pong is good for your brain. A doctor from Colorado says it stimulates the brain, improves hand-eye coordination, and promotes physical activity. Third, state election offices around the country are getting suspicious packages with white powder. It's proven to not be deadly. Officials are investigating the sources. Right now, 57 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
We're going to ask a national security expert in just a moment if this pager exploding plot, now walkie-talkies that we reported on blowing up in the hands of members of Hezbollah, if this could be enough to neutralize this terrorist organization. But also, my curiosity has just overcome me with how in the world this super secret plot was pulled off, allegedly by Israel, to plant explosives and booby traps and pagers and walkie-talkies that were being shipped to a terrorist organization.
And Israel has a long history of these very complex attacks. Back in 2021, there was an underground nuclear facility that it just exploded in Iran. In 2020, the top Iranian nuclear scientist, the military's nuclear scientist, was killed when, what was it? Oh, yeah, a remote-controlled machine gun while traveling in a car outside Tehran. So a remote-controlled machine gun assassinated their top military nuclear scientist. So there is a history of Israel, Mossad, which is essentially their CIA, carrying out these very complex secret attacks.
Brandon Amaker is an instructor at Utah Valley University Center for National Security Studies, and almost 3,000 pagers exploding. There's now, we've reported 12 people killed from the pager explosions. And now walkie-talkies, 1,000 have blown up. And that just happened from what we found out this morning, Brandon. This seems like a really super secret plot that involved a lot of planning, if it is Israel, on the part of Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a very sophisticated plot, which is actually, in all likelihood, downstream from other operations that they had, which likely shook Hezbollah's confidence in their ability to communicate with more modern technologies like cell phones. Back in February, they discontinued uses of cell phones because they believed that Israeli intelligence had infiltrated them. So then, moved to kind of these more primitive devices, and then it turns out that these have been infiltrated in a very kinetic way.
What happens? What's the result when countries, when military forces have to downgrade their technology and simplify it from cell phones to pagers to walkie-talkies to whatever's next, passing notes to each other?
Yeah, I mean, it creates a massive asymmetry between, the two combatants in this case. It will add latency to their ability to mobilize quickly, communicate between one another, and it gives Israel a much larger window in terms of being able to conduct operations without the entire network being notified. So it's a massive blow to have the confidence in your communications abilities shaken like that.
Have you ever heard of anything like this? Because I hadn't, but I don't run around playing Mission Impossible either. So this was, to me, was just I spent so much time reading into this last night and this morning because it was actually fascinating to me that Israel was able to, if it is Israel, pull this off, Brandon.
On this scale, not really. I mean, having a mass event where you have a synchronized detonation of this kind, this is a pretty unique event. However, operations of this type are not necessarily a new thing. As far back as I believe 1996, there was a similar detonation of a cell phone which targeted a chief bomb maker for Hamas, actually. So this type of operation is not necessarily new, but this being done simultaneously on this scale and with this kind of level of, intervention within the network of communications is definitely a unprecedented.
I think part of what is so incredible to me, what's so shocking about this is how many people had to have been involved that can keep a secret. Maybe you can speak to just the operational security, how difficult it is to keep something so top secret.
Yeah. I mean, it's always very difficult to keep something like this completely under wraps. And part of that kind of remains to be seen because the nature of the infiltration of the supply chain is still unknown. We know that these were, labeled as AR-924 pagers, which are manufactured by a Taiwanese company, but apparently this Taiwanese company, Gold Apollo, is claiming that it was actually a Hungarian company that they had allowed to use their brand name. So exactly where they got in, did they actually infiltrate one of these manufacturers? Did they intercept these things in transit, switch them out? That can lower or increase the complexity and the amount of people who are read into an operation. So that kind of remains to be seen. But something of this scale is difficult to keep control. But I mean, there's a reason why Mossad are professionals.
Yeah. So by the way, we're speaking to Brandon Amaker. He's an instructor at UVU Center for National Security Studies about the pager plot and now the walkie-talkie plot, where walkie-talkies and pagers are exploding. The pagers, of course, worn on the sides of Hezbollah members, thousands of them, almost 3,000, blew up simultaneously yesterday. And then this morning we got word that walkie-talkies are blowing up. And you brought up something that could have been what happened, is that maybe these are just switched out, that they didn't take the actual shipment, you think, and put the explosives in there. They might have just switched out the shipment altogether, possibly?
It's possible. It's possible they intercepted them and then tampered with them en route. Having to manufacture them wholesale might be, an added layer of complexity, but it's really difficult to get insight into the kind of specifics of the operation. But all we know is somewhere along the supply chain, whether that was at the manufacturer or in transit, they were able to manipulate these devices and add these charges to them.
Brandon Amaker is joining us, National Security Studies Director of the Emerging Tech Policy Lab at Utah Valley University. Final question, the last minute that we have. If this was indeed Mossad, what do we know about Mossad in Israel? It's essentially the CIA of Israel, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I would just say that Mossad is a very, very sophisticated intelligence agency with a lot of experience dealing with counterintelligence, counterinsurgency operations, counterterrorism operations. And I believe that this operation, there's some unconfirmed reports right now from U.S. officials, speaking on the condition of anonymity, that this attack was actually initially meant to be the first stage of a more all-out attack on Hezbollah if that had to come to fruition. But apparently, for whatever reason, the operational calculus behind that changed, and they decided to launch this, in absence of a full-scale attack on Hezbollah. So, but, regardless, very disabling, very effective, and really, I would imagine, has shaken Hezbollah's leadership and their confidence in their ability to mobilize to its core.
Brandon Naumacher, thank you for joining us from UVU, Center of National Security Studies.
Straight ahead, United States Senator Mike Lee calling for more Secret Service personnel for the protection of former President Trump. This comes after 2 assassination attempts in 2 months. How many Secret Service agents actually protect Trump? You'll hear more from U.S. Senator Mike Lee, and also we'll tell you how many next.
This issue isn't going away. We've got to make sure that President Trump has the protection that he needs. But in the meantime, we should encourage our fellow citizens to speak as precisely and carefully as they can.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. State lawmakers holding meetings this week, and in a Tuesday briefing, they heard from economists who say Utah's economy is a mixed bag. Good tech jobs still a strength. Unemployment, though, remains low, but Utah families are still struggling. State Senator Kathleen Reeby says lawmakers need to focus on helping those in need.
Bringing those people back into saving more and having a more secure future.
The lawmakers were told wages are increasing in the state. Rain has helped slow or put out some of the wildfires around Utah. The Elizabeth Fire in Summit County near the Wyoming state line, 10% contained, according to the latest update. Fire crews say cooler temperatures are helping in the northern part of the state, but dangerous fire conditions still exist in southern Utah. And our top national story this hour. There are funerals today for some of the people killed by exploding pagers in Lebanon, and apparently more explosions. Sources are telling ABC News that Israel is behind the attacks that killed at least 12 people and injured thousands more. Hezbollah has vowed to retaliate. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day now 75 points. The NASDAQ is down 58. And our KSL weather, partly cloudy skies ahead with pretty cool temperatures today. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health, Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the things I love about radio is that we are all hearing it at the same time. One of the differences between that and just scrolling on your phone is that I don't know when that story was posted. Maybe an hour ago, maybe 3 days ago.
To your point about who wrote it, where did it come from, and is it dated information, our hope every day is that we can provide a more broad spectrum of information on a single topic that you can then take and make decisions on your own.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things are still looking pretty good all across the Wasatch Front. No delays right now on I-15, either northbound or southbound, trying to get into downtown Salt Lake. A reminder for Summit County drivers, although you probably already know this, but US 40 is closed on the ramp to go westbound I-80 out at Silver Creek Junction. Now you can just stay on US 40 and actually get to the traffic light that's at Silver Creek Road and get onto I-80 from there, but it does cause delays from time to time as people work that out. Visit Marisa Bravenel Hall for the Utah Symphony's Pop Series. Visit utahsymphony.org/pops. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy and cool with a chance of rain today, high 71 and mid-70s through the rest of the week. And right now we're at 59 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
United States Senator Mike Lee echoing the calls of others to increase the secret security team that is responsible for the safety of former President Trump. Of course, President Trump in the sights of 2 attempted assassins within the last couple of months. And here's what Senator Lee said at a news conference.
It's time to really increase his security detail, if necessary, to the same level or a comparable level to that enjoyed typically by the President of the United States.
Which I think is absolutely the right move. He should be protected. After a second assassination attempt, in fact, I'm a little surprised that wasn't the case after the first assassination attempt. And the reason we know that he's not being treated with the same level of care as the current sitting president is because the Palm Beach County Sheriff that was holding the press conference shortly after that second assassination attempt said, had he been the sitting president, that entire golf course would have been surrounded. And we know that was not the case. The only thing that was on that golf course was an agent that was basically staying one hole ahead of Trump. And fortunately, he's the one that saw the gun. He engaged the shooter or would-be assassin and prevented this catastrophe. But, yeah, I think this is absolutely necessary.
We have gotten word. I'm reading a BBC article, actually. The BBC has broken down how many personnel guard the former president compared to the current president. This isn't anything new, from what I understand, though, is that former presidents traditionally don't get the same level of security as a sitting president. But we heard something from Blake Moore, Representative Blake Moore, the day after the would-be assassin was apprehended after the attempt this last weekend on the former president's life, or at least the plot. He didn't get off a shot. Thankfully, he didn't get off a shot. And this is a great observation on the part of Representative Blake Moore, in my view, that we often don't have former presidents out on the campaign trail. They go out and they open libraries, they go on the speaking circuit. But in this case, we have a former president who's running for president again. So it does create kind of a unique set of circumstances that I can see the point to beefing up security. Now, in a moment, I want to get into some details about the more simplistic things that I think can be done that don't really cost any money for the Secret Service to do. But as of right now, according to this BBC report, it seems from their reporting, the former president has about 90 to 100 Secret Service agents. That includes staff. So when you think of a Secret Service agent, you think of the men and women with the dark sunglasses on and the dark suits guarding the former president. Well, that also includes staff. So those are the people who probably go out and like make the arrangements. They're the team that goes out ahead of time, or at least makes the phone calls. So it's not all 100 aren't guarding him, and they're getting their information from an author who specializes in the Secret Service. Now, on the flip side of that, they're reporting that the current president and vice president get about 300.
So triple, roughly.
And I'm trying to, Dave, I'm be really transparent with you as I'm reading this article. I'm trying to figure out if that's in total or each. So if it's each, then it's 150 each for the current president and vice president. If it's 300 each, that's 600. But if it's not, if they're sharing those 300 each, that's 150 each. See what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the Secret Service has come out and said they have now stepped up their security around the former president's home to the level that a sitting president would get. So that make you feel better?
Yes, of course. Right. I'm a little surprised that this wasn't done beforehand, because this isn't like any other retired president, or this is somebody that is actively campaigning. But again, this was somebody that was shot weeks earlier. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, why was there not the panic button? Why wasn't there that kind of coverage? And one thing that is difficult for the Secret Service, right? They have a nearly impossible job, is, and according to reports, the former president decided to play golf almost on a whim. Like, this wasn't a well-organized thing. It was like, I want to go play golf. You guys figure it out. And then he'd go out golfing. When you have planned events, the Secret Service can, as you had mentioned, send an advance team out that goes and scouts out. When there's some of these impromptu things that just like, hey, I want to stop off and get some ice cream, that kind of stuff, it's difficult to secure.
Mm-hmm. They have a budget of $3.1 billion. They have about 8,000 staff in total, according to this BBC report, including special agents, administrative, and technical personnel. So I think that's important to note, that they're not all agents guarding the president. You need to have support personnel keeping track of everything and making the arrangements that need to be made. But the idea of adding more staff I wonder if they could just shift staff. Now, in order to offer that level of protection, the men and women in suits with the dark sunglasses, the earpiece that goes to walkie-talkie, that kind of protection, which is, I think, what we all visualize. And when you call for more agents, that's what you would expect. I also want to hear what the analysis is with any Secret Service missteps, because there are things that the Secret Service could have done to potentially prevent this from happening in the first place. Let's talk about the latest attempted assassination plot. We know from the FBI complaint that we broke here and read here on the air on Monday that individual who was apprehended was there along the fence line or the tree line at the golf course for 12 hours, camping out with an AK-47 style rifle, a scope, a GoPro, and a couple of backpacks, and probably a suspicious vehicle not parked very far away, because that's what he scrambled to when the Secret Service agent got off a couple of shots at him.
And it was obviously peculiar enough that when this person had run away and gotten in his car, that just a normal person, a witness, saw this and thought, that's weird. What's going on here? So they took pictures. Mm-hmm. So obviously, wherever it was parked, however he was acting, it was enough that someone's like, I need to take a picture of this.
Check the perimeter. Walk the perimeter of that golf course. Any golf course. you had suggested putting up drones. I love that idea. That doesn't cost a lot of money and doesn't cost a lot of extra added manpower.
You would think a drone with some thermal imaging would be able to pick out, I just see some guy randomly hanging out at the 6th hole just laying down. That's suspicious.
Lean on the local authorities to check suspicious vehicles that are parked near the president's golf course. That, according to the FBI, was a stolen license plate. It would have come back as a hit as a stolen license plate right away. Hey, we got to check the area to make sure there's nobody suspicious hanging out on the 6th hole of the president's golf course. So that's one thing they can do. That's low cost. That doesn't necessarily, I don't think, created a situation where you've got to go out and hire, $5 million worth of new agents or $10 million worth of new agents. The other thing I want to note, and we're running out of time to talk about this, but there were missteps that were made by the Secret Service that have been reported to Congress about in the first assassination attempt 9-10 weeks ago.
Huge list.
For example, the local authorities that they were working in concert with, they were collaborating with that day at that rally in Pennsylvania, have said they left their two-way radios there for the Secret Service to come pick up. And the Secret Service didn't swing by and pick up the two-way radios. That creates a breakdown in communication between local law enforcement and Secret Service agents. So if there's a gunman on a roof in an area that's outside the perimeter with a full eyeball, a line of, fire right on toward the former president's head, the Secret Service shouldn't be the last to know about that. That doesn't cost anything to pick up those radios. So there are some missteps here that we've reported on and we've heard about, and then the Secret Service has acknowledged some of those in the first one, in the first assassination, that have to be addressed. Just throwing more people at this might not be the solution. It may be a temporary solution, but they have to be doing things to mitigate the opportunity for people who may have an axe to grind to get within close proximity of the former president.
And they need to step up right now. The Secret Service does many things. They don't just protect the president and other leaders. They investigate financial crimes. They protect the U.S. currency, so they deal with a lot of fraud. They fight cybercrime. Well, we've got to reallocate resources. I realize you can't just go out to, the corner and just pick up a bunch of Secret Service agents. It's not that easy. But you've got agents that are working different parts. It's time to reallocate some resources because this is an imminent threat, a direct threat, and it just feels like we're playing with fire.
If you are thinking about retiring one day, 65 years old, I'm going to retire, stop thinking about that because you will be shocked at how many Americans are starting to wake up to the reality they will not be able to afford to retire. Dave and I go in depth next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country. You may not realize that, but you've definitely experienced it. The water that comes into your house, that is hard water. Unless you have a water softener, you're not going to enjoy those benefits. It's why my wife and I called Connecticut of Utah and asked them, will you come out to our house, show us the difference that soft water makes? Because I've been hearing about it for years, largely from Doug Wright, because he'd had such great experiences, and said, all right, will you guys show us the difference that soft water makes? And number one, this is what we really struggle with, is dry skin in our family. It said, soft water will make all the difference. You will be able to tell the difference the very first time you take a shower. And sure enough, that is exactly how it went down. You could feel the difference. It's been great for cleaning. We don't need a jackhammer to clean off the shower from all the hard water, the buildup, the stains. So if you're interested in getting soft water into your home, and I look at it as an investment, the long-term health of your home. Go ahead and give Connecticut of Utah a call. Connecticut is a authorized Connecticut dealer. 801-576-8600. That's the number you can call. 801-576-8600. Or, of course, you can check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Another attempt on Donald Trump's life.
The second time in a matter of weeks.
Another moment to question what's happening in this country. Get key updates this week on the investigation and what happens next. Ask Alexa for KSL News Radio when you get up and each time you jump in the car at 102.7 FM.
Trade in your sewing machine, any model and any brand, and get 25% off a new machine.
Yes, up to 25% off. It's happening right now at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo. Take advantage of 1.9% financing for 48 months on certain machines.
And all machines are discounted. Amazing bargains on previously owned machines while they last that come with warranties.
And how about this offer? Buy any Bernina presser feet or big book of embroidery, quilting, or stitching, and get the second one 50% off.
It's time to get a new Bernina machine and see the difference. Trade in your machine and save at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Don't miss the sale. Dave's Bernina.
Did you know magic is here? Come see the new Bernina 990. This is the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Nearly 70% of Utah's land is controlled by the federal government, severely limiting Utah's ability to actively manage and protect our natural resources. Our families, businesses, and communities know there's a better way. Utahns have been good stewards of our public lands for generations. That's why we're asking each and every Utahn to get informed, speak up, and learn more at standforourland.utah.gov.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
If it's a door-to-door salesman, buyer beware. Hi, this is Jason.
And Kathy of Window World.
Answer that door and prepare for some serious baloney.
You know, overpriced, but on sale today.
Big special.
Manager's discount.
Model home in the neighborhood.
Remember, the sale ends today.
Hey, it's all baloney.
Window World's different.
Check windowworldutah.com.
Or call 801-281-8111.
Window World. Simply the best for less.
And as Doug always said, that's no baloney.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The headline says the new middle class retirement plan working into old age. Dave spotted this CBS News article, and I was like, okay, we gotta chat this one out. And they highlight a couple by the name of Larry and Joyce Gessick. Looks like Gessick. They're 77 and 66 years old. You want to know what their retirement plan is? Working every day.
Every day. That's the plan.
Yep. Working every day.
At 77 years old.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I feel for him because I think my expectation is 65 and I am out. Like, see you, boys. See you, friend. I'm gone. It's 65.
Why 65?
Well, I that's just the expectation. I think when we talk about retirement, that's kind of always been the number. had maybe I grown up and said, no, you're going to work every day of your life, there is no retirement, then maybe I'd feel differently. But the expectation right now is when I'm in my mid-60s.
After half a century of working?
Yeah.
You want to be done.
That's the hope. And I think I'd probably get bored. 65 is still pretty young, right? We're living longer and longer. It's not uncommon to have a grandparent that's living in their 90s, maybe even, cracking the century mark. I would definitely be bored not working for 30 years. So I would probably do something on the side. But I would still like to think that the plan right now is 65 and gonzo.
I got to fact check you on that. I've been on this show with you for my entire life. And I seem to remember in the past when I said you're going to work, a second job or take another job after you're trying. Never. When I walk away, I'm done. Now, as it gets closer, as Dave creeps closer to the magic number of 65, he's changing his story.
Well, maybe a little Uber. Maybe a little Uber Eats. A little something on the side.
I just want to go to my favorite restaurant, Texas Roadhouse, and look up and have you be my server. That's.
I would do a very good job. You wouldn't have to ask me for a
And
Diet
you know
Coke.
what? This is when you would appreciate the fact that I'm a
That you're a good
30%
tipper? Yeah.
tipper. Okay. But the statistics are pretty staggering from this CBS report. It's not just, Larry and Joyce and a few of their close friends that are dealing with this. About half of middle-income Americans who are working right now say they expect to work past age 65. So they're not all as in on the 65, they're going to retire plan like you are, Dave. And a lot of it, quite frankly, it's because they just haven't saved enough money. The average American right now in their 401k, which is obviously a retirement savings plan, where's that number? It's like 65. Oh, they have $66,000 in their retirement accounts, middle-class households. So they just don't have enough money to retire.
Now, some of this we can attribute to personal responsibility. How much have you sacrificed along the way so that you can retire at 65? Did you go with a smaller house? Are you driving beater cars? Are you taking elaborate vacations? Are you doing that often? There is a certain level of personal responsibility where we have to sacrifice now for our later self. And that's not all of it, but I certainly can tell you in my own experience, my own life, I have absolutely not sacrificed at the expense of my retirement account.
What was your hit the wall moment when you got scared along the way that I'll never be able to retire, or I'm fearful that we haven't been saving enough for retirement?
Inflation.
Oh,
Deb. Well,
really?
This is what is so infuriating about inflation is when I first started working, you can usually squirrel away a percentage of your paycheck to your 401k. A lot of people do 5 or 6%. I was squirreling away about 13%. So
wow, that's great.
It was a big chunk for about 10 or 15 years.
Which is good, Dave, actually doing that early on.
Yes.
Because of the compound interest. It really does help you out.
So I made that sacrifice, my wife and I, and then as kids got older and more expensive, we had to back that off to that 5-6%.
You're smart though to do that up front.
So we've been very happy about it, but this is what is so infuriating about inflation is the dollars that I was saving back in 2005 have been reduced by 20%, by 30% in some ways. I mean, I was making huge sacrifices for a few $100s a month. Now those few $100s is a rounding error 25 years later. So it's extremely disappointing to see inflation just eat away.
So it kind of knocked you off the retirement track just a little bit.
Totally did.
Oh, totally did.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Now I've got to make up for it, and I've got to recommit to maybe those same sacrifices I was making early on. How about you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for asking. Mine was, Dave, I hit the wall when the housing market crashed, and then the stock market crashed, and then all the banks were starting to go under.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I was all but grabbing my husband's leg, like, what are we going to do? I was on the kitchen floor weeping. I'm like, don't let the kids in. Don't let them see Mama like this. Well, our retirement accounts, everything we'd saved for, we've been by then, I mean, I'm a lot older than you, Dave. I'd been working since, the late 80s, so this was 20 years of working. And our family made a lot of sacrifices, obviously, like a lot of families do. I mean, we're not special. It's just one of those things in the moment when you feel like it's only happening to you. These are the things you think of is, all the time away from the kids. And his police work was pulling, he was so busy all the time. And I was so busy with my job. So I hit my, I literally spoke these words, Dave, in the center of our kitchen. We will never be able to afford to retire because of what just happened. All beginning with the housing market fraud that went on. And so now I was blaming other people, just in my mind, for causing the situation that we were going to be stuck in to never be able to retire. We were 38-ish, 37, 38 at the time.
And now you realize, okay, that was just a bad moment.
It all came back.
You have to look at it
took a long
holistically.
Time. But still, it was hard on a lot of people. People lost their homes. It set them back, and other financial losses. Not everybody was able to recover from that.
Right.
We didn't have that happen to us. So it turns out maybe we were the lucky ones.
Just a couple of things before we go to break that stood out to me. This CBS report talking about how older and older may not be the answer to retiring, but Transamerica's study found that only 1 in 7 people are not using their employer-sponsored plans. So if you're putting in 5%, your company will match 4% to your 401k. 1 in 7 people aren't using that, and there is not a better investment out there. You find me another company or another program, stock, that'll give you an automatic 80% or 100% return on your investment, and 1 in 7 people aren't even using that.
Well, let's take live phone calls. Do you feel pressure to work past 65? Is working part of your retirement plan? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top national story this hour. Multiple explosions hitting different parts of Lebanon. We have more now from ABC's Tom Rivers at the Foreign Desk.
Nervous people milling around on the streets of Beirut after another wave of attacks, this time targeting walkie-talkies. One of the detonations at the site of a funeral for 3 Hezbollah members and a child killed by exploding pagers the day before. Devices hit today were part of the group's emergency communication system, which was supposed to be used during a war with Israel. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
Here in Utah, the West Valley City Council has voted to rezone 26 acres, which includes the Redwood Drive-In and Swap Meet. Edge Homes wants to buy it and build more than 300 housing units. The meeting was packed last night with residents who opposed the rezoning, including Christian Carbajal.
This swap meet thing is not over. We will make sure the city council gets voted off, that we do have representation.
He tells KSL-TV many people rely on the swap meet for money to pay their bills, but the city manager says it's not the city's job to tell property owners what they can and can't do with their land. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 16 points. The NASDAQ is up, but just barely, less than 3. And our KSL weather, we've got clouds off and on and cool temperatures today. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Trail mix, beef jerky, mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top-tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
September has come and fall is here. Make this new season the time when those extra pounds and inches fall off of you. Soda Weight Loss will assist you without drugs, without injections, without side effects, or the return of those pounds once you stop taking the medication. My fall with Soda Weight Loss was 37 pounds. Falling away in 90 days, I'm over 2.5 years into my journey, still 37 pounds down. I've never felt better. The results don't lie. The difference will surprise and amaze you. So let a Soda Weight Loss dietitian help you get ready for the winter holiday season by using the fall season to get the pounds and inches to fall off of you and to become a better, healthier version of you. As I always say, when it comes to your Soda Weight Loss journey, there is no time to lose, especially in this season, only time to win. So start winning today. Your healthy tomorrow starts today. Make the decision that will change every day for the rest of your life. State-of-the-art weight loss. Start it today at sotaweightloss.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Things are moving along very nicely all across the Wasatch Front. No accidents reported on city streets or major freeways right now. Just a little bit of congestion getting on the 201 freeway from Bangerter Highway, but that's typical. The UACPA supports certified public accountants in Utah through ongoing professional education and leadership development. Find a CPA that works for you. UACPA.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy and cool with a chance of rain today. High of 71, mid-70s through the rest of the week. And right now we're at 61 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
The new middle-class retirement plan, working into old age. Isn't that so inspiring? That's the headline on CBSNews.com that caught Dave's attention. We grabbed the article and we're like, we got to talk this one out on the show with our listeners.
Now, the glass half full in this study is that 7 in 10 middle-class Americans say, I feel comfortable, like I'll be able to retire with a comfortable lifestyle. That's still 30% of folks that are like, nope, I'm going to be working past 65.
Are you in that camp? You're going to be working past 65. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. If I have to work past 65, it's got to be something I absolutely love.
Like hosting the Dave and Dujanovic show? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Hi, Brad. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Oh, go ahead.
I'm in the opposite camp.
Good.
Described.
Love it.
Small house, small cars, saved my money, took advantage of the employer plans. And then the other thing I did is I never touched it. Even during the bad times, I took another job or figured it out another way.
So you
I didn't want to be that guy.
So you didn't take out like a 401k loan or something like that to get you through the tough times. You left it there.
Yeah, I never touched it.
That's awesome, Brad. That's awesome. Are you 65 yet? You don't sound like it. I don't know what a 65-year-old sounds like. I'm close. What's that?
Wait.
I don't know what's going on with your phone
Sorry,
or our system.
You're kind of breaking up a little bit there, Brad. Thanks for joining us. But I think one of the aha moments for me was I met with a financial planner. And because I was a little bit nervous. I'm in my late 40s, and I wanted to know, okay, am I where I should be? And when I sat down with him and we went through all of our finances, he said, yeah, you're right where you should be. Don't worry about it. Don't panic. So if you're not quite sure where you're at, I will say I found great peace by meeting with a certified financial planner,
that's a good tip.
because they start breaking everything down. Do you have a pension at work? That's not terribly common. Do you have a pension at work? What do you expect to be bringing in from Social Security? How close are you to paying off your house? They do all of this estimation. They look at your 401k, what you saved, and they're like, oh yeah, no, you're going to be able to maintain this lifestyle and just keep doing what you're doing.
Brandon, hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I like your topic.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, enlighten us. What's your take?
Well, you know, I'm 53 in a month, and like a lot of folks my age, I don't think we've saved enough. So, yeah, I'm doing kind of what Dave did. I found some peace by meeting with somebody, finding out, you know, all the different ways I can contribute. But plus, I went out and got a second and a third job. That seems horrible, but I've actually picked up some extra income doing kind of hobby jobs.
Nice.
Where having a little bit of fun, bringing a little extra money, paying off things a little sooner so that retirement can happen. But I'm still, you know, projecting probably working till 70 at this point.
70 years old. Well, congratulations on getting your arms around this and trying to figure out a solution now. I'll tell you, one of the things that I think, if you can do it, is get rid of that debt as much as you can, as fast as you can. I love that plan, because when you have debt, you're paying interest as well. And when I look at interest payments, I'm like, I might as well just be throwing that money out the window. Once you pay that off, you start saving that or paying down other debt with that money that you're no longer having to pay to the one credit card company.
Some of it is a mindset shift. I was talking to one retiree, and he said, my entire life, for 40 years of working, it was build, save. And then once he retired, he said it was very hard to shift gears and say, okay, it's no longer going to be building. I'm going to start depleting my savings. I'm going to start depleting my 401k. And he said that's been a very hard mind shift for him.
I love this text that we just got at 57500. You can use our text line anytime. Our text line is open 24/7, and we love hearing from you. We also love your calls, of course. This texter says, I opened my own retirement account outside of Social Security and my 401k at work when I was 24 years old. Well, that's incredible. Congratulations. 24 years old. Great time to start. Can retire in 3 years at 53, Dave. This texter can retire in 3 years at 53 because retirement has been a big part of their plan since they started working.
Houses paid for, cars paid for, no debt.
You should have your own talk show.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey, for joy. No, that's great. It's
done it all on your own too.
And you're making these sacrifices.
But it says I have no children. They have no children.
Oh yeah. That plays into it for sure as well. You know, children, super pricey. All right, Carl in Provo, what do you think?
I think you got to work or you're going to die.
Oh.
You have to break the boredom. You can't sit around and watch TV all day.
What?
You got to accomplish something with your life, or you're going to die.
You're destroying my retirement plan. I was going to get caught up on all the next Netflix shows I've been missing. You're telling me I have to go back to work after I retire to live?
You watch one Netflix show, that's okay.
You're right.
But you got to do something besides watch Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep working. I do what I've always done. I don't do it as much as I did before. I don't try to break myself. But, yeah, I collect Social Security and keep working. I don't make a lot of money, but it's better than doing nothing.
Yeah, that's
Otherwise, I'll die.
a key.
I just turned 80 on Monday.
Happy birthday.
So I just keep doing what I did.
Happy birthday. Love
I
hearing
enjoy
from
it.
you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. And the thought. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks if I stop working for good, just wake up at 9 a.m. Can you imagine, Dave, how horrible that would be?
9 a.m. Huge sleep in. All right.
Tune into the Dave Show.
Hey, where you at, Deb? The new middle-class retirement plan, this was the CBS article that we read. The new middle-class retirement plan is working into old age. I want to address this. Now, about half of middle-income America says we expect to work past 65. Well, if I'm being totally honest, when I started working a real career in my 20s, 65 felt old. Like, oh, yeah, when I'm 65, that is super old.
Bite your tongue.
Now that I'm 49, I'm like, 65 not so old anymore. I realized, I guess in my mind, I thought 65 is way older than it really is. So being able to retire at 65, I think, you know what, that's not physically, I don't have to. I'm going to be just fine at 65. I expect to be totally healthy, totally alert enough to be able to work past 65. But when I was in my 20s, I thought, oh, I'll be barely holding on at 65. And that's just not the case.
Have you heard the term silver tsunami? Speaking of 65.
Oh, yeah.
Silver tsunami?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is when it's expected that a whole bunch of, as you say, seniors are expected to put their homes on the market. Kind of maybe all at once. Because we're all starting to get up there in years, and maybe where are we going to go live? Apartments? Assisted living? No.
You
with
and
our
I
kids?
are both silver tsunamiists.
We are?
We are totally silver tsunamiists.
Thanks to the Stern team for partnering with us every Wednesday on our topics about real estate. Straight ahead, we're going to take a deep dive into the silver tsunami. Do you qualify for it? And what does this mean for the younger generation just itching to get into a home?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio. With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
This week's movie show is brought to you by My Hearing Centers. You can schedule a free hearing evaluation and be entered into win a set of premium hearing aids by tuning in on Friday from 10 to 1.
Don't miss Utah Symphony's annual Celebración Sinfónica Festival at Marisa Bravanel Hall. September 27th and 28th, experience a lively concert celebrating Latin American and Spanish cultures. And on Saturday the 28th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., stop by the plaza to find artisan crafts, grab a bite from local food vendors, watch talented dancers perform, and more. Tickets start at just $10. Visit utahsymphony.org/festival for details.
Doorbuster deals are coming during Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. Starting September 16th, save on a DeWalt 12-Volt Max Extreme Drill Driver Combo Kit or a DeWalt 12-Volt Max Extreme Impact Driver. Your choice for just $99. Plus, save $80 on a Bosch 18-Volt Brushless Cordless Impact Driver. Was $179, now just $99. Shop these deals and more before they're gone because Lowe's knows pros. Valid 9/16 through 9/18. Selection varies by location.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
At Macy's, we're proud to be local and support local. Carrying local products and produce is important to us. We are proud to support our local growers and bring peak freshness to you and your family. To make shopping local easier for you, we have added Utah Proud tags beneath local products. As you shop our stores, look out for the tags as you shop and show your pride for local Utah companies and growers. Thank you for shopping local yourself by shopping at Macy's. Macy's, happy shopping!
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why most of our over 18,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with a needs analysis where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no money down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, booby-trapped walkie-talkies are reportedly causing more deaths and injuries in Lebanon after yesterday's attacks involving exploding pagers. Second, the West Valley City Council will allow a rezoning of the Redwood Drive-In property in spite of the big crowd that packed the city council meeting and opposed it last night. Third, a Utah-based company recalling thousands of boxes of its frozen waffles. 61 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Always appreciate the Stern team and their support of our show. We work in partnership with them, and quite often they're in studio with us talking about real estate topics. But today we're going to get some insights from the University of Utah's Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute on what's called the silver tsunami, and that has to do with older Americans, my age.
Maybe mine.
Getting ready to sell their homes, which could bring an influx of homes to the market. We know there's been a shortage of homes for sale, which creates a supply and demand problem for people trying to get into their homes. I wonder how and if it's going to, the silver tsunami is going to make waves here in Utah.
Because it's been a crucial part of home buying, right? You own a home, you buy a home, you get older, you turn it over. It's not very often that you buy a home, you live into it, live in it until you die, and then you move on. That kind of turnover helps with the supply issue, and we have a massive supply issue here in the state of Utah.
We caught this article in utahbusiness.com. Will Utah home prices drop as a result of the silver tsunami? And Dayon Eskich is a senior research fellow at the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute up at the University of Utah. As you usually are, we see that you're quoted in this article. So give us the scoop on the silver tsunami, and will it hit Utah?
Yeah, I would call it more of a silver stream rather than a tsunami.
Okay.
So, for what you were holding out, I don't know if we're going to get that in the next couple of decades.
So what qualifies and how does it work? How does a silver tsunami or a silver little wave, how does that work?
Yeah, so if we think of 65-plus-year-old crowd, in 2020 they were about 11.5% of our population. So as people age, and typically older folks are living in these larger homes, they raise their families, right? And so as they're moving on, whether they're downsizing or moving to a retirement home, we start seeing supply come online, right? So there's these homes in typically more affluent neighborhoods that are now coming to the market. But in our market, particularly, we're the youngest state in the nation. We have the highest ratio of people under the age of 25 and the lowest share of people that are 65 and older. So we don't expect that silver tsunami wave to really happen here. You see that in parts of the country like Florida. These communities that attract the older generation, the baby boomers, where they go to retire. Utah is not a retirement destination per se for these folks aged 65 and older.
Dejan Eskich is joining us right now. So we don't have the older generation right now. How far out are we before we have, our moms and dads or grandparents, whatever it might be, kind of reach that age? And do you expect that to still happen, just maybe in the future?
Yeah, I mean, this is the trend we expect to see across the country. If we look at forecasts over, 2035 out to 2040, we start seeing more of this wave happening. In Utah specifically, we don't get to until about 2050 based on our demographic projections. In 2050 is when we see the 65 plus year crowd represent about 20% of the population.
Oh, wow.
Right. So we still have a ways to go until we really see that impact in Utah.
So, Dejan, in the meantime, we then will have to rely on new builds to take care of the demand, right?
Right. We're beginning sort of, a generational wealth transfer, right? We're seeing people move up from their second or third home into their next home. They have a lot of equity, so the pains of the housing, they're the benefactors of what we saw happen in the housing market over the last 5 years, right? So a lot of these folks, for them to move is not as challenging as for, people starting out. And so, too, when we look at what type of, homes people like, they like single floor living, old people, or I should say people of a certain age don't like stairs, right? So single floor living product, smaller product, less yard, more of a denser community that has amenities. That's where we'll see that part of the market move to, right? Depending on how land use is played out. But we also have a tremendous need for starter homes, right? So we have housing demand sort of on the two edges of the demographic spectrum. Young people starting out, and then older folks retiring, wanting to downsize. Then there's this sort of pocket in the middle where we're going to see be consumed, be redeveloped, re-updated home flips, right? I expect to see more of home flipping increasing come into the early to mid 2030s as we start experiencing the silver stream, not a tsunami, but it'll happen, although at a much smaller blip here.
Okay. It's a great point, as we have been speaking a lot about the need for starter homes. The governor has a goal of 35,000 starter homes, new starter homes in the next 5 years. But can you maybe speak to the other need of having these larger homes, because the 65 plus crew is not necessarily moving out or in that spot? Is there a need to simultaneously build some of these larger homes in nicer neighborhoods for growing families?
Yeah, I mean, there's always appetite. I think we all prefer a larger home, right? It's just about what can we afford. So if we see sort of what's being built currently on new builds, it's more of the second or third move up, right, stuff, or starter homes. So we see those two pockets where supply is moving, because the demand for both of those is relatively strong, especially on the more affordable side. So, I like to use the car analogy. If you on your way home tonight, look at all the different types of cars and the different price points. On one hand, $120,000 Cadillac Escalade will pass you, and then a $5,000 2006 Honda Civic will pass you. And we don't have the range of diversity new construction that we need, right? We got to have sort of a ladder process. You know, you start out in a starter home, build equity, and you're able to move up to a bit bigger house over time as your family grows. And that's been the pain point over the last decade, is we haven't been able to keep up with that progress. Basically, that housing assembly line, to use another car term, is we're just building either small hatchbacks or big SUVs. Yeah. We're not building all the other spectrum.
What a great analogy. That totally paints a picture. What I hear is we don't have enough 2006 Honda Civics in the housing market. Deon Eskich, thank you so much for joining us, a senior research fellow at the Kim C. Gardner Policy Institute. And a special thanks to the Stern team. When we talk about housing, we've teamed up with the Stern team to learn more about the housing market, the trends that are happening. And if you want to learn your home's true value in just 30 seconds, you can visit their website, sternteam.com.
So the silver tsunami, not so much.
I was surprised how far out we are from a silver tsunami, about 25 years.
And before we get there, a little stream. A stream. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not selling my home, just so you all know. I'm staying
You're
put.
the problem, Deb.
But in the 11 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about the Fed interest rate cut that is looming. We expect it within the next hour, the announcement. So we're going to ask Boyd, will the presidential candidates, Harris and Trump, parlay a lower credit card interest rate, a lower home mortgage interest rate to their advantage on the campaign trail? Boyd's next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. A woman from Midvale asking city officials for more safety measures in her neighborhood after being hit a couple of times by cars over the last 2 years. KSL News Radio's Verl Johansson has more.
Andrea Anderson was going down 700 East in her power chair when she was hit by a truck twice on Monday. She was also hit by a car while trying to cross the street in December of 2022. Anderson told KSL TV some people are too focused on where they're going to look out for others. She's asking the city to put in crosswalks and other safety measures near her home.
City leaders say they're working on a social media campaign to help drivers be more aware of people on the road with different needs. A Utah company recalling thousands of boxes of frozen waffles. Kodiak Cakes, based out of Park City, sells breakfast items, dry mixes, and ready-to-eat snacks. FDA now recalling 7,300 boxes of their protein-packed buttermilk and vanilla waffles, saying they might be contaminated with plastic. They were sold at Costco between July and August. An apparent second wave of attacks targeting Hezbollah went off in Lebanon today. This time, walkie-talkies exploded. Even solar equipment had apparently been booby-trapped. 12 people died, hundreds more injured yesterday when pagers exploded simultaneously across the country. Sources tell ABC News that Israel is behind those attacks. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average right now up on the day, 23 points. The NASDAQ also up about 23. And our KSL weather. We've got high clouds and cool temperatures today. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
This is Jay Broadbent from Alpine Home Medical. I'm excited to let you know we're currently having a summer sale on power scooters. As we celebrate the spirit of freedom and independence, we want to make sure you have the chance to experience it. We have a wide range of power scooters designed to enhance your mobility, and they're all available at a discounted price. These special offers only come around every couple of years, and once they're gone, they're gone. Come visit us at any of our 11 locations to take advantage of these fantastic deals, or you can browse our selection of discounted scooters on our website. We're committed to providing the 5-star experience. We can't wait to assist you in finding the perfect power scooter. Visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Nearly 70% of Utah's land is controlled by the federal government, severely limiting Utah's ability to actively manage and protect our natural resources. Our families, businesses, and communities know there's a better way. Utahns have been good stewards of our public lands for generations. That's why we're asking each and every Utahn to get informed, speak up, and learn more at standforourland.utah.gov.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a crash in the final cleanup stages in Parley's Canyon. This is westbound I-80. It's after you pass the Mountain Dell Golf Course area, but before you get to the quarry. It's over on the right shoulder, not really causing delays as all the lanes are open for travel, but cars do slow down from time to time as they go past there. Otherwise, you've got a great drive. No problems right now on I-15, the east or west side belt routes, or the 201 freeway. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy and cool with a chance of rain today, high of 71, and then mid-70s through the rest of the week. And right now we're at 61 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
We're on interest rate watch, and I'd love to know how the Fed's announcement expected at noon today, which is finally going to cut interest rates out after raising. How many times did you say it got raised? Like 11 times in a minute? I mean, that's a
just over a year.
Okay.
In just over a year.
Didn't it feel that way, though? It felt like
Every
a
2
rocket
days.
launch. It did. It felt like a rocket launch. It's like every other month we were talking about this, the federal interest rate being, or the Fed's upping the interest rate. We expect them to lower it today for the first time in a long time. And I'm curious to talk to Boyd because I want to know how he sees this playing out on the campaign trail. And I want to focus on if this will play in favor at all of Kamala Harris, because the Biden administration, which she is a part of, has been, under, just scrutiny for inflation and interest rates.
Boyd is joining us right now. And Boyd, I think it's important to remind folks why interest rates were getting jacked up for so long and so quickly is because our economy was just overstimulated.
Yeah.
Right? Inflation was at a 40-year high. We were getting decimated. On average in Utah, we were spending $800 to $1,000 more every single month for the exact same stuff. So that's why the Fed was trying to slow down the economy, bring inflation under control. My concern is I just feel like we barely started cracking into saying, okay, now we have kind of normal inflation, and now we want to spur the economy again?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Obviously, the baseline of it all is the reason the economy was so hot was because the government had pumped so much cash into it, both through the pandemic. Some of that was absolutely necessary and needed. And then there were a whole bunch of other things that just dumped a bunch of money in. And so, of course, the economy is going to get hot. And then what interest rates do, that's the tap on the brake to slow things down just a little bit. And so I think the challenge is going to be, and to your point specifically, Debbie, the way this impacts the campaign. So it's always a lagging thing. It's a lot of it is perception when it comes to economics and the American voters. So I think from a perception standpoint, if people say, "Oh, they're cutting the interest rate by 0.25 or 0.5," that will give everyone a little bit of an exhale. But then the problem, and this is the problem, so that's a good thing for the Harris campaign. The problem for the Harris campaign is after everyone says, "Oh, good, interest rates are going down," they're still going to come back to Dave's problem. And that is, it costs me $1,000 more a month to do what I'm doing. And so there'll be this, once again, this disconnect. The Harris campaign will want to talk about, yes, we cut interest rates by half a percentage point. But the American people are going to say, and I'm still not quite feeling that yet. And so it becomes incongruent. And so, again, possible perception help for the Harris campaign. A disconnect is also a potential problem.
We had senior economist Robert Spenlove join us from Zions Bank, and he said it's like turning on the faucet and then the water coming out a year later. That's kind of this.
That's about right.
You want the cause and effect of it, and that's just not how these rate cuts go.
He was quoting former chair of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan.
Alan Greenspan said changes to Fed policy are like turning on a tap of water and the water coming out a year later. So it's going to take a while for us to see this effect.
But we have seen mortgage interest rates come down. And Robert Spenlove said it was like 6.2% now. It was over 7% in 2023. But I don't know how voters attach home mortgage rates and the fact that they're saving $500 or $600 a month on a refi, or they're able to buy a home at a cheaper interest rate with Trump or Harris. I don't know how these two are going to play it on the campaign trail, if at all.
Yeah, so I think the way it plays is more perception and memory. So a lot of those voters who maybe bought a house when the interest rate was 0.25% or 3% interest rate on a 30-year mortgage, and now even if they're coming down, it's still 5.5 or 6 for a mortgage. And I can't buy as much house as I'm already in. I need to upgrade because my family's getting bigger, but I can't because the interest rate is 3 times what it was.
So it's 6%. So, it's double what it was years ago.
Yeah, so that's the perception problem, is they're going to want to tout the fact that it's coming down. We are lowering costs for families, to get a mortgage, and yet the reality is, as Robert Spenlove rightly pointed out, it's downstream, and we're a long way away from seeing the benefits of any kind of cut. It's going to take time.
So I was curious, okay, is it going to be 0.25%? Is it going to be 0.5%? What message does it send? And he explains some of the concern. Like, I think we all want prices to go down, and we want the economy to be doing well. But he had a little bit of a twist. If there is a 0.5%, 50 basis point cut, that he says this might not be as optimistic as you think it might be.
If they cut by 50 basis points, it could send the message that the economy is doing worse than we think. Because the justification for going extra big is that the economy is deteriorating very quickly.
That's Zions Bank senior economist Robert Spenlove, who joined the show earlier. And to Dave's point, it could be a red flag that things aren't as even as we might think they are.
Yeah, and that's why we love Robert, because he's helping us get underneath the numbers and what does that actually mean. And so it could send a lot of red flags. So, of course, we're going to watch what the markets do in response. I think most of the market is kind of baked in a 0.25 or 0.5 cut. And so that will be an interesting thing in terms of what message that sends. But there clearly is some concern that, hey, wait a minute, everything is about trying to get to this, quote, soft landing. I think it may be a little bumpy coming in, and that will be the problem for both of these campaigns over the next 48 days is how bumpy is it? If it's super bumpy, I think that helps former President Trump because he can say, look, remember the good old days when I was in office? You may not like me.
Bingo, Boyd. If I were his talking point writer, I would be playing on this. It was 3% under my administration. It's still double in terms of mortgage interest rates, what it was compared to what you had under my administration. And additionally, like if it's a 0.5 reduction in the interest rate today, I would lean into trying to explain why the economy is still wobbly.
That's
and
why
people
you should be in charge
concerned.
of messaging, Debbie, because you understand what the American people are feeling and living. And to me, that is, so take the politics out of it, whether you love them or hate them. It's a message discipline issue. And again, we always talk about this. You don't win, you lose because your weaknesses become the dominant force. The inability of the Trump campaign to be on the very message you just described, Debbie, is why Kamala Harris has a little bit of wind at her back at the moment. Again, the economics of it are going to ebb and flow over the next 48 days. But who stays on the message and can do something that's congruent in messaging with what the American people are living? That's going to be the test.
Are we getting to the point, though, Boyd, and it feels like over the last several years, all I'm getting from politicians is recognition, not solutions. I don't need you to keep telling me that times are tough. They were better under this and worse under that. What I'm looking for, and I wonder if I'm the lone man here. All right, I get you, see where I'm coming from. What you going to do to fix it?
How are you going to get me out of this hole?
How are you going to get me out?
Yeah, and
if it's
sadly,
stay out of my way, that's great.
Yeah, and sadly, this is also part of our politics that is problematic, and that is we now weaponize any plan that anybody puts out there. And so if a politician comes to you, Dave, and says, here is my plan. It's going to allow you to do X, Y, and Z. Here's how we're going to pay for it. This is what it's going to do. Within 7 hours, there will be an ad going up saying, well, so-and-so is going to help Dave, but they're going to throw grandma off the cliff, or, they're going to do this and not that. And so we've so weaponized it that it makes it harder to have the political courage a candidate needs to actually lay out a real plan, an authentic plan, a plan that actually has more than a snowball's chance in Guam of actually being done, because that's what the American people actually need. But we have to do that as voters. We have to say, you know what, I'm not going to buy into all this other spin. Tell me your plan and show me how that works, and I'm going to reward you for it, not penalize you.
That would be refreshing.
It would
Thanks,
be nice.
Boyd.
That would be refreshing. Boyd, thanks. So we look forward to the show. Inside Sources starts at 1.
Yeah. Straight ahead. Hey, if you're one of those who has a home mortgage rate that's locked in at a high rate and you're losing sleep over it, we're going to get a mortgage expert on the line straight ahead as the Fed expected to announce a cut in the interest rate this afternoon. When is the sweet spot to refi your home? Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I was so excited when Master Electrical Service decided to join forces with Mountain Home Services. They're taking care of my electrical needs, generators, EV chargers, recessed lighting. But with Mountain Home Services, you can add in your HVAC, your plumbing, your heating and air, all of that stuff, one-stop shopping. But, Deb, we have another little twist, another little cool offer for Mountain Home Services.
Fireplaces.
Fireplaces.
Fireplaces. Give them a call and get that fireplace estimate, because winter's. We got a taste of winter yesterday with snow at Snowbird Ski Resort. It is coming quickly, and you're going to want to have that fireplace in place in time for these colder temperatures.
And let these experts come in. With Mountain Home Services, they're going to install it. They're going to sell it. They do everything, so the quality, the attention to service is going to be top-notch, and they're going to be able to help you understand, okay, does it need to be this monster blower that's going to heat the entire downstairs? Do I need something a little smaller that's more for ambiance? Whatever you want, they can walk you through it, and it all comes with that upfront pricing guarantee. No hidden fees. All you have to do is reach out to Mountain Home Services for that cool new fireplace. Perfect timing. Visit mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com.
Or give them a call, 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
The safeguards for a former president don't feel very safe.
The acting director of the Secret Service says he's ordered a paradigm shift within the agency to move the service's protective mission from a reactive model to a readiness model.
The agency charged with protecting our country's leaders is looking at every angle and hopefully stopping things from getting this far. We have analysis all day, so when you're in your car, listen to KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a serious heart condition. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. My HCM impacted how I felt and what I could do. So I asked my cardiologist about treatment advances that gave me new options. That conversation was big for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com to learn more.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb.
If you want updates on the Jazz, we got a text line for that. Just text Jazz. If you want BYU, boom, BYU. If you want news, text news to 57500. It's the best way to keep up on all your breaking news alerts here at KSL.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, it's not just pagers that have been exploding in Lebanon. Walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah have also been exploding. Second, a woman using a motorized wheelchair says she's been hit twice trying to cross 7th East in Midvale. And third, thousands of packages of frozen waffles made by the Utah-based company Kodiak Cakes are being recalled. The FDA says they might be contaminated with plastic. 61 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Priced Out. Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
In 40 minutes from now, I'm going to be tuned into Maria Chaleos because we are expecting a big announcement for the Fed that they're going to cut the interest rate. This is so important to Utah families and folks that are walking around with, high debt on their credit cards, Dave, because they're paying more in interest with the interest rates as high as they are. It's also an important time to consider, like, if you're locked into that 7% interest rate on your home because you bought a home during the peak of interest rates, when is the sweet spot? What is the sweet spot to consider refinancing and save maybe hundreds of dollars a month on your mortgage payment?
So when I moved from my house of 22 years and bought a new one, I'm carrying a mortgage on it. It was with the express plan to refinance at some point. It was 100% part of our conversation. It was like, it's going to be a bad interest rate. We're leaving a 3.5 interest rate on our home. We're leaving that. We're going to be in the sixes. And the reason we did it is because we thought we expect the rates to come down over the next couple of years, and we'll just refinance.
This is a big announcement. It happens in about 40 minutes, maybe a little later, but you got to keep it here to hear it. But first, let's give Jeff Stout, president of Fink & McGregor. Hi, Jeff.
How are you doing?
Good. Okay, so let's say that the Fed cuts interest rates today, and then home mortgage rates perhaps follow in terms of dropping. We heard from Robert Spendlove earlier, the economist with Zions Bank, who called the show, and he said now mortgage rates are right around 6.2%. Of course, you're going to be able to fill in the gaps on that for us as well in terms of what they're at, in different areas. But I mean, in terms of refinancing, what is the sweet spot to consider refinancing if you're like Dave?
Well, a lot of people have this rule of thumb. They say 1% improvement in the rates is the rule of thumb to make a refinance worthwhile, but I don't think that's necessarily true. It kind of depends on how much you owe and other circumstances, because if rates are 1% lower and you have a mortgage that's, say, $100,000, well, the closing costs as a percentage of the loan on a $100,000 loan are much higher than the closing cost on, say, a $400,000 loan. So that can kind of eat into what you're trying to accomplish. And just to go a little deeper on that, what I mean is, to simplify it, how much savings do you expect out of this refinance? And how much is the closing cost? So if you're spending $5,000 in closing cost on a $100,000 loan and it's saving you $40 a month, that takes a long time to repay that.
Makes sense.
So
yeah.
Really, yeah, it's better to look at it case by case than it is to just throw some blanket number out there like that.
If my break-even point is 10 years, then maybe that's not worth it. But how common is refinancing in a conventional loan? Like, so if I'm on a 30-year loan, how many times on average will people refinance, or do they largely just stick with what they had?
Well, this may surprise you, but the average length of a mortgage loan is about 3 or 4 years.
Oh, wow.
For for various reasons. So
either they're selling the house or they're refining it?
Yeah, they're either selling the house or refinancing for various reasons. It's not always because rates went down. Sometimes it's just, a divorce or kids going to college or wanting to remodel the home and add on to it, or consolidating debt, or for whatever reason. But that's why I really discourage people from refinancing just to save money if it's going to take them 10 years to pay it off. I mean, usually I tell them if it's 3 or 4 year break even, then that's probably a good bet.
So I was going to ask you is what is that sweet spot for the break even point? If somebody's refinancing and they're saving $600 a month on their mortgage, then obviously making, $7,200 a year in savings, and their closing costs are $5,000 or $6,000. That sounds like a fabulous move if it works out for them, Jeff.
Exactly. That's a no-brainer. It's the other ones that get a little complicated. Yeah. And what I usually tell people is what you're doing is you're betting how long you're going to have this mortgage loan. So a lot of people say, well, I'm going to die in this house and this is it for me. And, that's fine. That's a personal decision to make. But if you're saying, well, we're probably going to want to move up in a few years, then, that's a different piece of the data.
Yeah. I wonder how many people are like me who've said, I'm going to die in this house, and every single home she's bought.
And then you sell it 3 years later.
Yeah, I failed to predict that life changes, and you might have to make a pivot. So Jeff, what are interest rates out right now, just kind of generally?
Well, they vary so much depending on what you're doing and what your credit is, loan-to-value ratio. Are you pulling cash out? I mean, those things have a huge impact on the rates. But, all perfect scenario, you're, similar to what you mentioned, you're in the low sixes and in the fives on a 15-year.
So as we're speaking about interest rates, we're looking very closely at the Fed and seeing whether or not they're going to cut interest rates by 0.25%, maybe 0.5%. Correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of these mortgage rates right now are already baked in. Is it fair to say don't expect an additional drop after this announcement?
Well, it's fair to say that. I mean, and things are always baked into some degree. I was talking to a real estate agent about this very thing yesterday. But here's what we don't know, and you mentioned it yourself. Is it a quarter point cut? Mm-hmm. Is it a half point cut? And so there's an unknown right there. And the other unknown is what is the future outlook that the Fed's going to talk about. So a lot of times the comments give more indication than the actual rate cut does. Mm. But I have never seen a Fed rate action without an immediate market response one way or another. Now, that's just one day, and the next day things tend to kind of correct themselves. But really, to me, the more important thing is what is the long-term outlook here? There are 2 more meetings this year with the Fed, and they'll probably talk about what they anticipate doing. And I think, that's what a lot of us are going to be looking at.
Jeff, just before we let you go, I do wonder if people are going to sit back and kind of play the long game with a refinance, if it makes sense for them, wondering if the Fed is going to continue to cut the rate throughout the year and they'd be better off waiting.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, I just want to remind everybody that the Fed doesn't set mortgage rates. I know. But the mortgage rate. Yeah, I know you guys know that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But
that's a good point to make, though. It may not.
Yeah,
it may not go down. I mean, you make a good point there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I mean, what I usually tell people is, does it make sense now? Because you don't know what's going to happen in 3 months or 6 months or 2 years or whatever. Does it make sense now? And if the numbers make sense now, we'll go ahead and do it. And if the rates come down more, you can do it again. And also, I wanted to mention this. If you're doing a cash out refinance, let's say you're wanting to consolidate debt, that's probably not your last move, because a cash out refinance is going to have higher rate than what's called a rate and term refinance. So sometimes it makes more sense to do it in 2 moves. And if right now what you're trying to do is consolidate debt, well, get that out of the way, because you got to wait 12 months before it's considered a rate and term finance after that. So, there's different things that go into that decision. And that's why, I mean, it's good to have a good loan officer that can kind of help you make that decision.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. I hadn't thought about that. Using the cash out refi, get out of debt, wait a year, and then renegotiate or get a rate and term loan. Jeff Stout, that's why you're the expert. We appreciate you joining us, president of Fink and McGregor.
Straight ahead, we're going to take your live phone calls. What are you waiting for to get into the housing game? An interest rate drop? Does that entice you? Are you waiting for a housing price drop? 801-575-TALK. Live calls next.
It's 11:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. 2 empty school buses crashed this morning in West Valley around 20th West and Parkway Boulevard. We confirmed with Granite School District that there were no students on board. Both drivers, though, had minor injuries. One had to be extricated. The buses have significant damage. The cause under investigation. A gas leak closed part of 500 South in Bountiful this morning. It's closed both directions from 400 East to 800 East. South Davis Metro Fire on the scene. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah fighters have exploded in Lebanon today. The day after a round of pagers exploded and caused injuries to a number of people. Professor Brandon Amaker at the UVU Center for National Security Studies tells David Dujanovic it's a very sophisticated attack that probably took a long time to set up. And he says it likely shook Hezbollah's ability to communicate.
They discontinued uses of cell phones because they believed that Israeli intelligence had infiltrated them. So then, moved to kind of these more primitive devices, and then it turns out that these have been infiltrated in a very kinetic way.
Israel hasn't said much about the attack so far. Major news outlets, including ABC, reported it was coordinated by Israel's Mossad intelligence agency. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 60 points. The NASDAQ is up 44. And our KSL weather, we've got some high clouds right now, and It'll stay cool for the rest of the day. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio. With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
IVC is celebrating 20 years providing quality service in Utah. You've probably heard their saying by now, life starts when the pain stops. IVC is the most trusted interventional and vein center in the state, and they've been voted Best of Utah Valley 10 years running. The 7 physicians at IVC provide state-of-the-art, comprehensive vein care with many years of experience. The team at IVC takes the time to get to know you and your veins so you're comfortable with the right diagnosis and the right treatment. Patients are like family at IVC. You've also heard many radio ads over the years with real people describing how IVC has dramatically improved their quality of life by eliminating the pain and discomfort caused by varicose veins. Well, what are you waiting for? Don't let vein disease slow you down even one more day, because life starts when the pain stops. Visit ivein.com today to set up a free screening. That's ivein.com. Beatty, Nevada, your getaway to Death Valley, an entryway to a true desert adventure. Enjoy exciting offerings for all your senses and imagination. In Beatty, visit Eddie World, the largest candy store in Nevada, and visit their historic museum, the ghost town of Rhyolite, and see sculptures in the desert at Goldwell. Hiking, biking, and hundreds of miles of ATV trails await you. For the ultimate adventure, make Beatty, Nevada your next destination and claim a free gift at beattynevada.org. Wrangle up some fun at Beatty Days 2024, Friday, October 25th through Sunday, October 27th. It's old-fashioned family fun with a chili cook-off, live music, bed races, a classic car show, cornhole and horseshoe tournaments, model railroads, a parade, food and craft vendors, contests for everyone, and lots more. The fun is in Beatty, Nevada this October 25th through the 27th. Visit beattynevada.org for the full schedule. That's beattynevada.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
A gas leak in Bountiful has closed 5th South between 4th East and 8th East in both directions. We also have a small accident in Utah County westbound on Highway 6, about a mile east of Diamond Fork Road. Put the equity in your home to work with a home equity line of credit and get 6.49% APR for the first 6 months. Learn more at cypresscu.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
In the next few minutes, right about the time Maria Chaleos takes over, we should know from the Fed if they're going to drop interest rates. Only question, is I guess not if, is by how much, Dave?
And initially, I was just kind of thinking, let's see a half a point, let's see 75 basis points, let's see something big. But we heard from Robert Spenlove, who's with Zions Bank, and he said If it's 0.5, if it's higher, it may be an indication that the Fed is more worried about the overall health of the economy. So maybe hoping for a big rate cut is not necessarily the good news that we think it is.
So what we really want to talk about right now is an interest rate drop or a housing price drop. Which would most entice you to get back into the housing market? Stop sitting on your hands and doing nothing. Is it an interest rate drop? Right now, we just spoke with Jeff Stout of Fink & McGregor, telling us it's right around 6%. And the question, of course, down the road is, how much more if the interest rate, to be specific, Jeff was speaking about mortgages. I want to make sure clear of that, mortgages. Interest rate drops do eventually, in a just kind of a roundabout way, affect mortgage rates. So mortgage rates right now are at 6%. Is that enough to entice you to get back into the housing market? 801-575-TALK. Let's take live phone calls.
It's a great question because I dealt with this recently. I had an incredible mortgage rate at 3.5%, and I'd been paying on that for years. And I probably only had 10 years left on my mortgage, 3.5%. But my wife and I started looking and thinking, okay, maybe we need to downsize. Our kids are growing up and moving out. Maybe we need to downsize a little bit. And I knew, this was very clear, we knew we were leaving an incredible, historic, all-time interest rate, and we were going to get punched in the nose with a new interest rate that was probably close to double the interest rate that we were currently paying. We made the decision exclusively on the value of the home, the cost of the home. And we thought, you know what? Let's just do it, and we will figure out the interest rates down the road. If we have to refinance at some point, we'll refinance. But we made our decision exclusively on the cost of the home, the overall cost of the home.
So, okay, just back me up a moment. You made your decision to sell your home and leave your 3.5% interest rate behind over the cost of the new home?
Yeah, we did not take into account the interest rate.
I see.
We ignored the interest rate.
Okay.
Even though it was going to be a much worse interest rate than our current loan, we said that's fine. We're just looking at the value of the home.
The value of the home, and perhaps the fact that it give you, less repairs because it was newer.
Yeah.
It's a newer design, maybe something that fits your lifestyle now more so than the home you left behind. Okay, I'm starting to.
We weren't making our decision exclusively on the interest rate. Mm-hmm. We decided to set that aside, understanding that it was gonna affect us. It was gonna be a bad interest rate, but nevertheless, it worked out for us. It was a smart financial move, even though we doubled our interest rate.
If you're not getting back into the housing game or not moving in that direction because you're waiting for prices to drop and hoping they'll drop. The latest report that I'm looking at right now from Zillow says the Utah housing market went up 1.2% over the last year. So the average Utah home value is at about $516,000. Homes are selling for way above that. And in fact, I think in some cases, there's still some bidding that's going on. So if you find a house that you love, somebody else has found that house too, and they're bidding against you. And you shared with me in the break an example of that, Dave.
Yeah. So when we first bought our home, we downsized into a condo or a townhome, and they on the website would just list the price of the home. It was very easy. This is where it would be. This is how much it costs. They've now removed the price. And it's a little bit of a bidding war. I know people that have gone in, they said, listen, we have multiple offers on this. Give us your best offer on this home. So it's not quite as cut and dried and clear because there is a bidding war going on right now.
I think it's hard to gauge the housing market.
It is.
and not being a real estate agent or a mortgage lender, like an expert in either of these areas, I think what you're just spelling out to me and what we're talking about here is really hard to gauge. So we try to play it, but we don't really know. Like,
we're not experts in the game.
Yeah, we don't.
It's
know
like
what
trying
the
to
dealer's
card
cards
count.
look like. Yeah.
It's trying to card count in Las Vegas. And you know what Las Vegas says when they find a card counter? Welcome. Come on in, because there's just not many people that can do it effectively. Same thing with the housing market.
So if mortgage rates do drop as a result of the Fed lowering interest rates, now they're already at about 6.2%, still kind of a lot higher than they were a few years ago when everybody's getting the 3 and 3.5%. Do you then turn around and refi, or do you play the card counting game? Try to figure out if you want to wait to see if the Fed lowers interest rates more throughout the year and then mortgage rates follow.
This is why I love this show, because it helps me. It answers questions that I have. In fact, I was always planning, my wife and I were planning, when we got into our home, it was a bad interest rate, well, 6.25. So we're paying 6.25% on our home right now. We have good credit. We are always planning on refinancing. That was just, we're like, we'll refinance in a couple of years when the rates come down. But talking to Jeff Stout of Fink and McGregor, they run mortgages, he said you have to figure out the math, because if it's only $100,000 left on the loan, you may not save enough with the interest rate decrease to pay it off. So make sure you do the math. You know how much is left on the loan. You know, if you have $500,000 left on a home versus just $100,000, your monthly savings may not pay off that rate decrease. You may be better off overall sticking with that 6.25%.
Maria, keeping an eye on what the Fed decides to do. You'll hear the announcement here as it happens during her show in about 15 minutes. That's when her show launches. Straight ahead. We've been talking about nearly 3,000 pagers that were being carried by Hezbollah members and fighters, exploding all at once. This pager explosion plot, they're blowing up all at once. We now have more insights on how this plot unfolded. And now there's a new twist. We'll tell you next what's exploding in the hands of Hezbollah today.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Meet Brian. He just got $5,000, and it was pretty easy. I'll tell you how in 10 seconds. Brian needed cash help. After being rejected by banks, he tried 27cash.com. Told them how much he needed, even let them know he had bad credit. In minutes, 27cash.com found a lender who deposited $5,000 into his bank account the very next day. If you need cash help, even if you have bad credit, go to 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
You might wonder, John Legend, how do you keep your voice sounding so legendary? Honey. And how do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date? With a COVID shot this season, designed for recent variants.
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Join Lagoon's maintenance and construction team for the most thrilling job around. Lagoon is looking for exceptional ride technicians, skilled carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and more. Lagoon offers excellent training programs with amazing career opportunities. These positions are both full-time and year-round. Apply online today at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Join the Lagoon team and help us maintain the fun. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Attention commercial property managers and business owners. Say snowplow 3 times and who shows up? GoPave Utah. Clearing snow faster than you can say sandworms. That's GoPaveUtah.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Approximately 10 million caregivers over the age of 50 still care for their parents. Not only does this impact their wallet, but also their time, loyalty, and health. Tailor-Made Senior Advocacy and Consulting is here to help. Founder and CEO Dr. Nancy Taylor shares more.
As a pharmacist and independent patient advocate, I have watched the need for healthcare advocacy grow. Take, for example, how 70% of working caregivers suffer from work-related difficulties, like that work-life balance, due to the dual roles that are thrust upon them. But it's not just the employees that experience the impact. Many employers do as well. At Tailor-Made Senior Advocacy and Consulting, I like to say I'm in the hope business. I help people find and hold on to hope with confidence and control through group workshops and one-on-one guidance sessions. Our workshops are done in partnership with employers and organizations to better empower caregiver employees with solutions of hope, while our one-on-one guidance sessions help clients create that foundation of hope through the design and implementation of strategic personalized healthcare action plans. Start your journey with us and get your personalized healthcare action plan today.
Tailor-Made Senior Advocacy and Consulting is here to help you navigate the intricacies of senior healthcare. For more information, visit their website, drtadvocacy.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Scott, and I have a podcast called Project Recovery. I talk about my own journey from addiction to a lifelong one in recovery. I'm joined by my good friend and a clinical psychologist, Dr. Matt Woolley.
You know, it's your story, Casey, but we also hear inspiring stories of others who join the show from rock bottom to living a life of recovery.
That's Project Recovery, a show about addiction, but more importantly, it's about recovery. Follow us for free on KSLpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, an expert on national security issues at Utah Valley University says the attack on Hezbollah with exploding pagers and walkie-talkies was very sophisticated, probably took a long time to set up. Second, a couple of Granite District school buses got in a crash this morning. The drivers were the only ones on board. Both had minor injuries. Third, a gas leak shut down part of 500 South in Bountiful this morning. 63 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I have been glued to all of the latest news reports. Astounded, maybe somewhat fascinated by this super secret mission that appears to have been pulled off by Israel to distribute, unbeknownst to members of the terrorist organization Hezbollah, thousands of pagers that members of the organization were wearing on their hips yesterday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when they all simultaneously exploded. It's a wild story.
It is as unbelievable a story as you could write in a Hollywood script. They secretly somehow get away with thousands of pagers. They manipulate the pagers. They basically create these little bombs, and then once all the bad guys put them on their bodies, they send it out and they explode. It is unbelievable. I would not have thought that this was possible. It would be unbelievable reading a novel. And this is what supposedly Israel was able to do. Now, part of what's so interesting about this is Israel has not admitted that this was their work. And what's so different is so often when attacks happen, people will claim responsibility. Israel has not claimed responsibility for this.
But Hezbollah has been more than a pain for Israel.
Oh, no, yes, no question. a terrorist organization that
on the border.
Yeah, that's been in the border of Lebanon. And Israel right now is fighting multiple wars.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighting, obviously, Hamas in Gaza. They've got Hezbollah in Lebanon. They've got the Houthis in Yemen. They are fighting in many different ways, many different fronts.
So the pager plot, the exploding pagers, isn't the end of the story. It turns out it was just the beginning. So we're going to get into some details on that and the latest development on what's exploding now in the hands of Hezbollah in just a moment. But I want to give you more details about these exploding pagers because it all happened at once. And what we've talked about is the fact that this shipment from maybe a Taiwan company, maybe a company that has a licensing agreement
in Hungary,
yeah,
right.
had shipped these pagers, and perhaps the shipment was intercepted, and then little tiny particles of explosives planted. It's just wow because the pagers are what, like 2 by 2 inches.
Yeah, it's a credit card size.
I used to wear a pager years ago, and it sits right on your hip.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine something detonating right there.
And they believe it was 1 to 3 grams, which is about 0.1 ounce worth of a very explosive material.
Put that in terms of sugar, like in my coffee. How much would that be? Very, very little.
Oh, yeah. I can't even. I mean, it's a sprinkle.
A sprinkle.
Right?
It wouldn't even sweeten the coffee.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't taste it.
And we spoke earlier today to Brandon Amaker. He's an instructor at UVU, Centers for National Security Studies. This was such a wild story that we wanted to get his take on how this might have unfolded with the pagers. Like, how was this stuff put inside the pagers? And then, unbeknownst to Hezbollah, it's shipped out to them, and they start wearing these things.
All we know is somewhere along the supply chain, whether that was at the manufacturer or in transit, they were able to manipulate these devices and add these charges to them.
And then back that up, there's a reason why Hezbollah switched to pagers, which are a super old-fashioned way of communicating.
Yes, because obviously cell phones and cell phone technology, we have such incredible computers, cell phone tracking. In fact, Trump's second assassin was found through cell phone technology to be hanging out basically by the golf course for 12 hours before the attempted assassination. So obviously terrorist organizations, everybody knows that compromised cell phone technology, that is at the forefront. So what it seems like they did was they dumbed things down. Instead of having smartphones that are easily hackable and traceable, they went to pagers.
Mm-hmm. Several months ago, too. They notified all their members, we're switching to pagers now.
Yes.
And that was how then the pagers end up being compromised and then sent out to the members of Hezbollah. Almost 3,000 pagers exploded simultaneously. Apparently, like, they got sent a message and then they all blew up.
And to give you an idea how prolific this penetration was, Hezbollah has somewhere between 20,000. I've seen reports that have 20,000 to 50,000 members. Let's say it's 20,000 members, and 3,000 were injured. Mm-hmm. The percentage, the number of Hezbollah militants that were hit by these pagers, it's an astounding infiltration, one that it's hard to comprehend that this wasn't leaked, that it was kept top secret on so many levels with so many points of failure possibilities.
Yeah. I mean, this could neutralize Hezbollah.
Very well, could be.
It certainly has made them paranoid. And let's add the layer of what happened today. So the pagers exploding yesterday, and they weren't all out there fighting either. That's something to note. Some of them, we saw a video of somebody, one of the members of Hezbollah, who's in a market, putting produce into a bag.
Yeah.
And
just shopping.
Like, surveillance video from the market shows he just gets it's like boom, and then he's on the ground. Today it's walkie-talkies. So if this is Israel, this is a layered attack to instill continued paranoia, because what Hezbollah is thinking, what's next? So today it's walkie-talkies that are exploding. They were booby-trapped. Thousands of two-way personal radios used by Hezbollah members. This is according to Axios. In Lebanon, in a second wave of an intelligence operation that started yesterday. A second wave. So the pagers yesterday, the walkie-talkies today, if you're the leader of Hezbollah, you're like, what's
How do we
next?
communicate?
And now, if you talk about thousands who are potentially injured, well, they said 9 people. I'm going to make sure this is for the walkie-talkies. And so the second wave of clandestine attacks. Lebanon's health ministry said 9 people were killed today, 300 wounded. So an additional 300 wounded by those booby-trapped walkie-talkies.
And if you're wondering, okay, well, what caused this? Why is Israel, we're assuming that it was Israel, why would they reach out and they would attack Hezbollah like this? Well, they are fighting Hezbollah. They're fighting Hamas. In fact, in July, Hezbollah had sent 200 rockets and missiles. They have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of missiles at their disposal, and they have been launching these rockets and missiles into Israel, kind of a steady stream, and there has been Israel's defense system intercepting a great number of these rockets and missiles, but a lot of those have still gotten through. So there has been this direct attack on Israel from Lebanon.
Yeah. Well, we'll continue to track this story. It's like a Mission Impossible style, super secret plot that at least at this point seems to have worked to create bodily damage, injuries, death, and paranoia.
And is there more